Warning, the following podcast contains adult language, themes, and situations. Also, the film we're about to talk about is going to be spoiled thoroughly. Listener discretion is advised. Enjoy this show.
Nicolas Cage and Willem Dafoe together in a movie written and directed by the guy who wrote Taxi Driver and Raging Bull. This movie must be incredible, right? Wrong. So come along here, see, as we try and figure out the nonsensical, aimless mess that is Dog Eat Dog.
Okay, let's run.
I'm like a prickly pear.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole! Porker, how'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? Hey, have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and beat until you pissed blood?
Welcome to One Cage at a Time, the show where we break down every single Nicolas Cage movie, one film at a time. Here are your hosts, Patrick, Vince, and Nigel.
Three recently released ex-cons join forces to pull off the crime of their lives by kidnapping a baby to hold for ransom. But when the job doesn't go as planned, things quickly go sideways as they find themselves running from both the cops and the mob.
I don't remember them running from the mob.
They weren't.
They technically never got to the point where they would run from the
They
mob.
fucked everything up and killed themselves, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
Ugh.
I mean, they kind of alluded to the fact that Chepe was not going to be happy.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It works. I took this synopsis mostly from the synopsis that was written online.
I was going to say, that's pretty much what it says online, too. Yeah. So when I got to the end of the movie, I was like, yeah, they never ran from the mob. That's misleading.
They self-destruct long before that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Let's meet the stars of the film.
Dog Eat Dog stars the one and only Willem Dafoe, Christopher Mathew Cook, writer-director Paul Schrader, unfortunately, and of course the man with the plan, Academy Award winner and stretched-out version of Humphrey Bogart, Nicolas Kim Coppola, better known as Nicolas Cage. Yeah!
In the role of a lifetime.
Brought absolutely nothing to this movie.
Let's dive into the nitty-gritty.
This film, I guess, was released November 4th, 2016. Had a budget of $2 million. Box office was $219,319. I'm not sure where those things come from. I feel like it must have been released to streaming, and it was like based off of rentals or downloads or whatever. But
Because it never got a theatrical?
I don't believe so, no.
Yeah, like that could just be theatrical numbers if it got a limited release, and then they don't count the streaming stuff. But I'm actually kind of shocked. Like I thought, okay, $2 million. Maybe this had a chance of making its money. Nope, guess not.
Willem Dafoe,
Make 10% of its budget.
Nick Cage, the guy who wrote Taxi Driver, Raging Bull.
Right.
I mean, Paul Schrader is he's won. Phil, at least, he's won an Oscar for writing, not for directing, and definitely not for acting. But he has won, his films have won Oscars for various different things. Like we mentioned in Bringing Out the Dead that Affliction won James Coburn. James Coburn. Yeah, he won an Oscar in Affliction.
He won the Oscar.
And
Affliction.
But directed by Paul Schrader. This was actually technically, it's based on a book called Dog Eat Dog by Edward Bunker. And then a screenplay was written based on the book by Matthew Wilder. But then Paul Schrader kind of went in and changed things a little bit. So he gets kind of a co-writing credit on this. But technically, he's not the writer of the film. And it shows.
I bet what happened with this is that it it didn't have enough of a budget to even get any marketing, and then didn't get a theatrical release if it did. Because I think if you just marketed this and then released it and just said Nick Cage, Willem Dafoe, written by the guy who wrote Taxi Driver, or whatever, or directed by the guy who wrote it, you would have got enough people randomly seeing it to make more than $200,000 and probably could have made their budget back. But I feel like the studio saw this and was like, no, we're not even going to market this. We're not spending any more money on it. Just dump it on streaming.
It was wrought with peril from the very beginning. Apparently, so Paul Schrader, in order to keep the budget down, he got together with a bunch of like film students, and most of the movie was like fleshed out over a summer. Like they came up with the ideas of like how it was going to be shot over the summer with a bunch of film students, and he decided at one point that this book that was totally serious and not funny, that it was turned into a screenplay that was totally serious and not funny, needed to be a comedy for some goddamn reason. And it shows that it's kind of ham-fisted comedy into a movie that was obviously about some really fucked up things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Suicide Squad.
It kind of works because the movie ended up being not funny. So I guess it's in the theme of the story, the book not being funny.
Yeah.
I want to go and read this book now because I want to see how it differs from this film. Because I feel
apparently
like
it's way different. Nick Cage's character gets away at the end. Spoilers for what you're about to see. But a lot of different things, like the whole third act was completely dropped from this movie. The third act that was in the book is completely dropped. And again, it shows. Runtime 93 minutes, so it's not too much time out of your lives, but goddamn it felt like it.
Kept checking that runtime.
Oh my god!
Really, I didn't.
More. Come on.
I didn't with this one.
The first time I didn't. Quick. But the second and third time, I was like, Jesus, just let it end already. Rotten Tomatoes gave this a 50%, which is surprising to me. 50%. The Weatherman had 59.
That's being mean to the Weatherman. That's coming from me.
What's funny, though, is the audience score, 19%. So the critics were probably like, well, let's give Paul Schrader the benefit of the doubt, and, you know, probably didn't even watch the movie. They were just like, well, it's probably good. Paul Schrader wrote it.
Yeah, Paul Schrader, crime drama, Nick Cage. Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be good. Willem Dafoe's in it.
Hour and a half. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Metacritic score is actually higher, 53%. It's kind of surprising numbers aside from the 19% from the audience.
How about a Coppola quick facts?
All right, let's take a look at a Coppola quick facts here. Coppola. Is it Coppola? God damn it. I need to... Is it Coppola or Coppola?
I saw you're doing... Are you doing a bit now, or is that...
Yeah, is this a bit?
You say it every time.
I do it every time, but I'm like, you're going to say it right.
I say Coppola.
And then I'm... Coppola. Okay.
That's how I've always heard it.
Could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure that you're right, but I always am like, I've done this 3 times now since we started this show. I've gone and listened to somebody say his name, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get it right from here on out. And then I get here, and I'm like, Coppola? You just said it 2 seconds ago, and now I'm like, which one is it? Is it Coppola?
It's Italian, and you know, European vowels tend to open up things a little bit. You pronounce the O's more like O's, so you know, Coppola makes a little more sense.
Okay,
probably closer to how it's supposed to actually be said. I don't think either one of them is fully correct.
Yeah, well, I mean, I heard him say his name, and he says it like that, like Coppola. Francis Ford Coppola. Something like that.
I would take his word for it.
You would think he would know, but maybe not. Okay, so a couple of quick facts here. Nicolas Cage actually paid Willem Dafoe $100,000 to do this movie,
which says a lot. Director.
Yes, but I mean that's crazy. Like, and Nicolas Cage is an actor in this film, but he believed in this project so much
That's crazy.
that he decided to pay Willem Dafoe to get him into the movie.
Yeah.
This is the first time that they've worked together since Wild at Heart, which I think was like 1993 or 1990. So
Wow.
yeah, it's been a long time. So I guess he just really wanted to work with Willem Dafoe. And also, Willem Dafoe is perfect for this batshit crazy role.
Yeah.
He
that
nailed
he's
it.
in. This was shot in 25 days. As I said, the crew was largely comprised of recent film school graduates. So they kind of like... Paul Schrader sat down for a summer and kind of fleshed out the script with these film students and stuff, and came up with like interesting ideas to make this movie not boring and keep people on their toes, which we'll get to. There are a lot of things that yeah, sure, that worked, but listening to him on the commentary, it started to become really clear that at this point, I don't know if it's just him at this point in his career, but like he cared way more about making the thing visually interesting and all the weird like dynamics of the different shots to like throw people off than he cared about the story. He never seemed to mention the story one fucking time. So
It's such a weird turnabout for a writer.
Yeah. Yeah, I get the sense that he doesn't direct the way that he writes. I think he really puts those in two different camps, and like his writing is one thing, and it's been known to be great, but his directing, so. Technically, it wasn't actually shot in 25 days. It was shot in 23 and a half days because Nicolas Cage walked off the set on day one because he hadn't been paid yet.
Fair enough.
So they flew him out. Okay, but this is what happened. And before you're like, Nick Cage sucks. Before you say that, they flew him out and he did all the pre-production and the rehearsals and all that kind of stuff with the promise that he would get money from the studio on day one. And when he showed up to set on day one, he hadn't been paid. So he just fucked off to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And they're like, uh-oh, film's in peril. We have the whole crew here, everything ready to go. And they decided to film the scenes with Willem Dafoe and Mathew Cook, whatever his name is. Those like monologue scenes where they're at the strip club and all that stuff towards the end of the film. So they shot that first. Got Nick Cage's money, and NickAge flew back, and everything was fine.
I mean, to his credit,
Sounds
I
like
would
it's a
not
proper
want
play.
to be stuck in Cleveland.
Did they shoot on location?
Man.
Did they shoot on location?
This was shot entirely in Cleveland. They were going to shoot in Los Angeles and substitute it for Cleveland, but then they went and did a scouting trip and looked at Cleveland, and they were like, oh, shit, we can film pretty much everything here.
That's cheaper than LA.
It is cheaper than LA.
Sure. You can't recreate that scum feeling of being in Ohio, let alone Cleveland.
This is the 7th collaboration between Paul Schrader and Willem Dafoe, which is crazy. Last Temptation of Christ, Affliction, Autofocus, The Walker, Adam Resurrected, Dog Eat Dog, which is number 7, and he's actually filming right now with a new Scorsese movie that was written by Paul Schrader. We were just talking about Bringing Out the Dead was the last time that Paul Schrader and Martin Scorsese worked together.
I didn't realize he was right. He wrote the script that they're shooting right now.
Yep, the card counter is what it's going to be. So, yeah, that's crazy. This is Paul Schrader.
Wait a minute, you're telling me Scorsese's doing a movie about a casino? That's
No,
really
no.
it's like a card counter. Like, that's really off-brand.
No, it's
for
about
him.
Magic the Gathering, actually.
That'd be amazing.
That would be so awesome. Scorsese's Magic the Gathering.
It would still be a bunch of mafia guys.
Yeah,
obviously.
I don't get it. What am I supposed to do with these guys?
Trying to rig a magic tournament. Getting outsmarted by a bunch of
We're going to
nerds.
win. We're going to beat these kids.
Teaching a
Mark
card
my
counter how to
words.
play magic.
They start seeing like numbers appear next to his head.
different lands appearing and what. Yeah.
He's building out the magic deck in his head. All the cards just flashing across the screen.
I want to see that movie so bad.
I do too. All right, that's our
Let's
next
write
project.
it. Let's write it.
I was gonna say that's our next, starring Nicolas Cage.
This is Paul Schrader and Nicolas Cage's third time working together, bringing out the dead, of course. Dying of the Light, which Paul Schrader talked mad shit about in the commentary. And then, of course, Dog Eat Dog. This is also the second time that Willem Dafoe has appeared in a film based on an Edward Bunker novel. So there's all sorts of connections here. He starred in Animal Factory, which is a Bunker novel from
Wait,
year
he
2000.
wrote that?
Yeah.
Whoa, okay. I didn't realize that he wrote Animal Factory.
And this movie, the book is set in the 90s, which kind of comes through. But then there's that moment where a cell phone makes an appearance and kind of screws everything up. But it kind of feels like the 90s. The vehicles are not period, but it has that 90s vibe to it. Like I said, Nicolas Cage and Willem Dafoe previously co-starred together in Wild at Heart. But additionally, Dafoe starred in Shadow of the Vampire, which was co-produced by Nicolas Cage, which I'm assuming was a Saturn Films production. Which is weird because Nicolas Cage is always in those Saturn Films productions.
I wonder why.
Wait, is that the one about shooting Nosferatu? Was that Shadow of the Vampire? Or am I thinking something different?
Might have been. I never actually saw it, but
I never saw it either.
I feel like we talked about this at some point when we were talking about Vampire's Kiss, that Shadow of the Vampire was a Nicolas Cage production. And I think you're right. I think that's what it is about.
It's the one about. It's the one about filming Nosferatu. Yeah, he plays Max Schreck, who
that's
is
right.
the guy who played Nosferatu,
Yeah.
and in the movie he is an actual vampire playing. That's what the movie's about.
It makes so much sense that Willem Dafoe would be Max Schreck.
Yeah.
Finally, this is kind of a little bit of a spoiler, but this movie doesn't really follow the 3-act, narrative style. Which, by the way, we should just come clean. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing when I'm putting those acts together. I just kind of like, like Nigel says he goes off a time code. I just kind of go off of, well, this feels like the conflict. This feels like the
I go off
resolution.
loose time code as a guide, and then
So far, I think everything's been panning out both ways.
I think a lot of it too. If you watch it time code wise, and then usually there's some kind of a daylight transition, day to night, or something like that. Like it's kind of interesting if you pay attention to it.
True, that's actually a good point.
They tend to have some kind of transition that happens within the time frame of the movie that helps set the acts up a little bit better.
Yeah. This one kind of follows a 5-act narrative. So there's kind of a prologue. And then we see crime 1 happen. Then there's kind of an intermission at the casino. Then there's crime 2, and then there's an epilogue. So it's kind of broken up into 5 things. Paul Schrader said over and over and over again that he tried to just keep people on their toes. That was his whole mission on this film, which he did excellently. But that was kind of why he went that route, was just to keep you guessing.
Yeah.
My opinion is that this was a 1-act movie. There was.
I saw some reviews say it was a 2-act
structure. It just does its thing. It just tells the
stream
story.
of consciousness.
Maybe it's a verisimilitude. Like life doesn't have act structure. It's just a series of events that they were going for. I have a quick fact, or a couple of facts.
Oh, nice.
The role of Mad Dog, which is played by Willem Dafoe, was originally offered to Nick Cage, and that was who Paul Schrader wanted to. But he had just played a psycho like Mad Dog in some movie. I'm not sure what movie
a shock.
Was it Rage?
Yeah, I wonder how many directors want to cast Nicolas Cage as a psycho. That seems so weird. So he turned it down, and then it was offered to Willem Dafoe, but they didn't have enough in the budget to get 2 big stars like that, which is why Paul Schrader asked Nicolas Cage to donate $100,000 of his salary to get Willem Dafoe on board.
Willem Dafoe actually told Paul Schrader, I guess, that he was fine. Like at one point, he had cast him in all those different roles that I said, but he kept playing kind of bit parts and kind of character actor-y parts, and he told Paul Schrader, like, don't cast me in anything anymore unless it's a starring role, because like, I love you, but I can't keep doing these types of roles, which is funny. I guess they're actually friends in real life and hang out together.
I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that.
They've known each other a really long time. Apparently, Paul Schrader and Willem Dafoe knew each other when he was doing like New York theater before he did Last Temptation of Christ, which makes a lot of sense because Willem Dafoe was kind of like his coming out party as an actor, and that was written by Paul Schrader, and Martin Scorsese directed, of course.
I think having Willem Dafoe play Mad Dog worked in this movie's favor.
Oh yeah,
That was like the one
it.
great character in the whole film. One interesting character through the whole thing. Was, so Willem Dafoe was born to play that role, man.
Oh my God, yes he was. He played it so perfectly.
Sorry, that Pfizer vaccine's coming to get me.
Turning into Paul Schrader over there.
Jimmy the Greek.
El Greco.
I was listening to the commentary, and he goes, and about 3,000 times. He's describing, this is, we shot this downtown,
I thought that was just
Nick
something
Cage
he put
didn't
on
really
for the
want
characters.
Yeah, me too.
I couldn't tell that was a natural speech cadence of his. I thought he invented that for the role he was born to play.
Let's break this bitch down. Act 1. Let's set some stuff up.
Our film begins with two fugly white guys discussing how guns are the key to world peace on public access television with a load of pistols elegantly placed onto an American flag in front of them. Off to a great start. I mentioned this before in the pre-show, but as I was reading this, I completely forgot this entire scene. So all of the nuances and stuff of it, like, it's really nice to revisit and, kind of get a breakdown, play-by-play of everything that's going on in this, like, sensory overload of an opening scene.
What a great scene this was. This is actually Paul Schrader read this, and this was what convinced him to do the movie. This opening scene.
Really?
He said he read
because
the opening with the two idiots on the public access talking about guns, and that was like, oh, I love this. This has got to be a great film.
And then I took it to the studio.
And
I mean, it kind of makes sense because this feels so different from everything else in the movie.
It really
he could have
does.
kept with this tone and maybe worked, something a little bit better. But anyway,
he said he was inspired by the movie, I think it was Belly, with this weird color scheme thing that he did. It's just like, it's just so off-putting, the whole opening.
suddenly the perspective changes to Willem Dafoe, a.k.a. Mad Dog, chilling inside of a Barbie Playhouse set, enthralled by this riveting program thanks to a few healthy snorts of coke. Every inch of this place is pink and covered in flowers. Even the lighting is pink. And it's really nauseating.
Yes, it is.
For some reason, he has an eyeball tattooed to his chin, which we get the pleasure of looking at for way too long to be comfortable, just in case the pink Pee-wee's Playhouse decor isn't making you sick already. I imagine the chair was about to just start talking to him.
Here's a tip for everybody. Do not eat dinner while you watch this opening scene, because it will not be good. It's not pleasurable.
He gets a call about cupcakes of some sort on a TV that floats next to his head that is replaced by a TV of the guys jerking each other off about guns, then the opening to Fight Club, I think, then the gun guys, then an Elvis bobblehead, then finally a pink phone shaking uncontrollably on the wall. I'm as baffled as everybody is.
This is all true too.
The only way to do this scene justice is to just frankly state what's going on. I guess it's such a, like, your brain just gets like, what the fuck? Trying to piece it. I don't know. I blocked it. Like, I don't remember this until I'm reading it. I keep forgetting about it. It's just like it was too much.
It's like being raped as a kid. I blocked it out.
You have to see it to believe it. It's just like, what a way to open a movie. I mean, I get. Like, I thought maybe it's because he's high, but like, I don't know. Coke doesn't make you hallucinate, as far as I know, but maybe he was on other stuff and we didn't see it because we see he's mixing things a little bit up here, so maybe he's got a more cocktail going on.
Paul Schrader said he wanted to just make it clear. This is what he said was make it clear that this is not your average film and that you're in for a ride. With those stupid TVs that just appeared above a guy who has an eyeball under his chin.
I forgot about that too.
And to make it a comedy, like to make it clear that this is a comedy, and if you're taking it seriously at this point, you're watching the wrong film. His words exactly.
Mission unaccomplished.
Which again, I think may have worked if the rest of the movie was this batshit, like bizarre visuals and weird surreal stuff going on.
They try to do it a couple times. Like there's this weird CGI heart later on, and like a couple of things.
They do it, but it's infrequent enough to just be off-putting and confusing and disorienting, rather than like the style of the movie.
It's like he was pseudo trying to tap into like an Oliver Stone look, but failed because I mean. There's just no cohesiveness to the whole thing.
Mad Dog picks up the phone by ripping it off. I got the visual of him doing it. Mad Dog picks up the phone by ripping it off the wall and answers some really weird questions about what he does for a living from a random stranger on the phone who already knew his name. He explains that he doesn't have any money and that he guts fish for a living, while another phone in the house rings and a kid talks about a bird cupcake factory on an answering machine. So it's like, what? How is a second phone ringing while he's on the phone? I mean, I guess two lines exist, but
party line? I don't know. Also, we've established that this isn't set in the 90s. Who the fuck has one of those bell-ringing phones nowadays? Even in 2016.
Have you seen this lady's house, dude? Come on.
That's true.
It fits perfectly with the rest of her decor.
The guy on the phone is surprised people still gut fish for a living, and Willem loses his mind from the guy making fun of the job he never once does in the film, then is never mentioned again. Calls the guy a motherfucker for calling him at dinner time and destroys the phone. What a great scene.
Quick fact here, the guy on the phone is none other than the screenwriter himself, Matthew Wilder.
Oh my God.
So Willem smashing that phone is exactly what we all wanted to do to Matthew Wilder after watching this movie.
That's awesome. He heads out of the pink paradise to the blue room of the house. You know, how everyone has color-coded rooms in their house. I think it's a bathroom. It's like
a bathroom and he hangs out.
But it looks like an airplane bathroom. It's got a sliding door and like a little closet under the stairs-looking thing. It's this tiny little thing. Anyway.
I had this theory about that blue room. I don't remember what color it is, but they put a certain color in bathrooms in, I think, the UK to stop people from doing heroin in the bathrooms. Because they can't see a vein, and I feel like it was blue, so like he wouldn't be able to see his vein in that blue light.
That you may be giving it too much credit, but that's interesting. But that would make sense. He shoots up some heroin in the blue room, which is good because obviously the dude needs to take the edge off a little. Did ride those uppers and downers.
Yeah.
He just had a traumatic experience with that phone call, dude. He's got to level out.
Don't we all hate telemarketers that much? Yeah. Thankfully, the heroin scene is cheerfully scored by the music they play at baseball stadiums between innings, so it's fun.
Play ball.
Next, we see Mama June and Honey Boo Boo enter Barbie's playhouse with some groceries. Willem pops out of the blue room high as shit on heroin and smugly looking like he just took a shit on her pillow, which causes the woman to be scared for some crazy reason and tells him he can't stay there. He explains that his car's in the shop, so he needs to crash there for the night. The woman, who is named Sheila, is upset that he took her Chevron card to pay for his repairs, but he promises to make her some ribs and eat her booty, so everything is cool.
That's a fair trade-off.
Yeah, eat some ass, get a place to crash.
Eat some ribs, eat some ass. What a great
Eat
night.
some ass. Got a place to crash. We gotta put that on a t-shirt.
There's a quick fact here is Sheila, the woman who plays Sheila I don't know what she's doing these days, but in 2016 she was a big star on Vine, and that's kind of how she got discovered. She did these like angry fat woman videos on Vine that everybody loved.
Hopefully she made it to TikTok.
Yeah. Did she make the transition?
Right. He then kisses this woman who's literally half his age and twice his size. Quick fact, Willem Dafoe is 5'9". I don't really know where I was going with this. He just looked really short in the scene, and I wanted to see if it was an intentional shot to make him look tiny next to Sheila, but who knows?
I think so. I think that was intentional. And he's got to be like 130 pounds in this movie. He's just...
Yeah.
He looks so skinny, like a junkie.
Then the kid comes in and gets upset that he erased the messages about the cupcakes, which I have questions about. Why would he have erased the messages? When would he have erased the messages if he was shooting heroin in the blue room? Why would it matter if he erased the messages? And what the hell is the story with the cupcakes anyway? We don't see him erase these messages, so...
Why the fuck would he in the first place? Like,
yeah, he was
why would he
ignoring the
care?
call completely.
And then she's like,
You're
all
trying to
mad.
rationalize a crazy man.
You erased the messages for my cupcake, whatever the hell is going on.
And she couldn't just call her friend back and get the...
Yeah,
her friend
why just
was
call her
calling
back?
to talk to her.
I'm never doing a project
We
with
need
you
some
ever
dramatic
again.
tension in this scene with a guy, an insane guy, shooting up drugs in this lady's house who clearly doesn't want him there. We need some kind of dramatic tension. We need conflict.
Get it.
We need conflict.
Cupcakes.
So the natural thing is some shit about cupcakes. Next, we see Mad Dog making nightmare faces in the mirror while he trips on heroin for a solid minute for some reason. Before we see that brilliant scene is interrupted by Sheila screaming for Mad Dog to come into the room. I thought the visuals were actually really cool. It was like this funhouse mirror effect with a delayed
was cool.
refraction.
Paul Schrader said that was to trigger, the audience to know that this is a comedy, right before this horrifying thing that is about to happen.
I mean, I laughed really hard at the upcoming scene.
Okay.
That's the best response.
I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of how that's supposed to convey it's a comedy, because it just was some trippy visuals. To me, it was like to convey that he's tripping balls.
Yeah.
I don't think Paul gets this whole comedy thing. I don't think he's got a finger on the comedic pulse.
No, I don't think so either. His idea of comedy is probably really fucked up. That's all I can think.
Anyway, Sheila explains that she uses her computer for church, taxes, and emails, but apparently she doesn't use it for hardcore Asian squirt porn. To which I ask, why even have a computer, honestly? What else are you going to, you're paying way too much if you're just doing it for church, taxes, and emails.
Seriously.
Also, how does she use the computer for church? What does that even mean?
Bible
Does she
study.
go to Zoom church meetings?
Yeah, maybe this was pre-pandemic Zoom church.
She politely asks him to leave by yelling for him to get the fuck out, to which he says he has nowhere else to go. And for some reason, that he has a suitcase full of guns, and what's he supposed to do? Carjack some old guy like some N-word from the projects? But of course, he doesn't say the N-word.
No.
Just so we need to know he's a bad guy and a racist.
There is a lot of I know that this jives with the storytelling of Paul Schrader throughout the years, and especially his work with Scorsese. But there's just so much unnecessary racism that is just uncomfortable, especially for 2016.
Yeah.
And he said something in the commentary about people saying that he was trying to make a statement about the Black Lives Matter protests, which had just started at that point. And he said, I had no intention of doing that whatsoever. And so if it does convey something, it was completely unintentional. But there are some moments
about the blacks
that I will say are just over the top racist that
Unfortunately, though, to his credit, it fits Cleveland.
Yeah,
that's true.
And we're also seeing it through the eyes of these psychopathic
delinquent
criminals. So, yeah.
prisoners who just got out.
I don't think he's glorifying it.
Yeah,
You know.
I don't think he's either. It's just it just comes off so in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't.
gotta
I
know
mean,
he's a
unless
bad
you're
guy.
Quentin Tarantino, you don't really talk like that in movies that much anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But Paul Schrader's old school, and he didn't write the script, technically.
Yeah.
Touche.
She calls him a loser and slaps him, so he does what anyone would do when someone asked you to leave their house because you jacked it to porn on their computer, did coke and heroin, destroyed their phone, and stole their credit card to pay for your repairs on your car. He slices open her throat and stabs her to death while cheerful music plays underneath. So it's fun. Happy-go-lucky. It's supposed to be a comedy.
So unexpected when this happened. I just was like, "Holy shit!" Like, this is
when
the
she turns
first
around
scene
and
of the
blood
movie.
just spurts out of her throat?
Like
Slashes her
out of her neck.
she kind of was a bitch about telling him to leave for good reason, and he kills this woman who apparently he's been with for a long time and loved, as we find out later on in the movie. But then it gets worse.
So next he chases Sheila's daughter, who just witnessed him kill her mom, upstairs brandishing his fish gutting knife. He takes a break from the chase to grab one of the guns from his suitcase. Thank God they set that up or we'd have completely been lost, right? He breaks down the kid's door while she screams for her life and then shoots her in the head through a pillow. But it's set to cheerful music, so it's fun.
Yay!
That's our setup for this character.
That's a
our
setup.
opener.
Yeah, that's a setup
Then he
for Mad
snorts
Dog.
some coke next to the body, so it's fun because it's got fun music. It's that woohoo song from like the '60s. You know, the one that
Oh yeah, it's from like there was like Travelocity commercials used it or something.
Yeah,
something like that. Whoop-oo, doo-doo-doo,
I wonder if they
doo-doo.
watched this movie and they were like, let's put that into our commercials.
I feel like they watched it. They were like,
This
let's
is so
stop
fun.
putting that in our
It makes
commercials.
everything fun.
What a great time Willem's having.
He's about to go on a journey.
It's now 3 days later, and something terrible has happened. The entire world has lost pigment, and in reality has turned black and white for some inexplicable reason.
Quick fact on this. So Nigel, you were partially right. But he said he decided to make the strip club scene black and white so people would wonder why it's in black and white. Swear to God, honest to God, that was the reasoning behind it. And then he found that funny little joke where Nick Cage is dressed really nicely, but then when you actually see it in color, it's this goofy ass
Stupid
leisure suit.
pastel blue shoe.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
all
yeah,
right,
he
cool.
just wanted to throw people off because he had seen a million different strip club scenes shot in his lifetime and was like, I'm tired of seeing the same strip club scene over and over and over again.
Which is funny
Wow.
because this movie has like 3 sets, or everything takes place in like 3 places in this movie. A strip club, a casino, or a strip club bar, a casino bar, or a car. Most of the movie takes place in one of those 3 places, or a hotel room. So if he's saying that the problem is seeing way too many strip club scenes in movies, why did they include like 3 different strip clubs in this movie?
I have no fucking idea. Still
I
makes
guess
no sense.
other than an excuse to film in a strip club and have Nick Cage feel up an actress's boobs.
After him explaining it for a couple of minutes, I still don't get it. I just don't get what the rationale was. We wanted to keep people on their toes, so I just decided. And we wanted people to question, why is this in black and white? And I'm like,
We had a lot of questions.
your job
So he's just
as a
doing it
storyteller?
To be an asshole to the audience for no
Yes.
reason,
Yes.
like that'll teach
Exactly.
them for trying to figure shit out in my movies. Teach
I mean,
them
we
for
had a lot
trying
of
to
questions
analyze.
after that opening scene. I don't think we needed this to add any more questions.
Yeah.
Teach people for critiquing or questioning a narrative or trying to figure out what the fuck is going on in the movie I put in front of their face.
That'll teach you.
Bringing Out the Dead is a more coherent movie than this to me.
Oh yeah,
And that movie at times made no sense to me.
Yeah, that movie is a fucking masterpiece compared to this movie.
Everything is.
Yeah, pretty much. Except maybe Deadfall.
I think Deadfall's better in some ways.
Yeah.
Deadfall, as poorly as that story was told, at least it made sense up until Dr. Claw.
They kept some sort of internal logic to what was going on.
Yeah.
The legend himself enjoys a probably watered down and 3 times the price of alcohol anywhere else drink at a strip club, and introduces himself as Troy. He then introduces his crew, Mad Dog and Diesel. The 3 are having a grand time at this club where, through the magic of movies, they are able to hold a conversation at a normal vocal register while music blasts in the background incessantly. I just thought that was funny.
Which is almost barely audible through the whole scene.
Yeah,
like,
but they were just talking like a
hard
normal. They weren't yelling or like you'd normally have to do in a club. They were just talking.
Yeah.
We could hear it all sort of. He explains that people can't stand Mad Dog. The guy who brutally murdered a woman and her kid 30 seconds ago. Can't imagine. But Troy says that he knows Mad Dog in a very particular way, and then cuts to him in prison, so shit is about to get real weird.
Mad Dog is 9 inches inside of Troy. No.
This isn't related, but apparently Willem Dafoe has a huge penis.
I was going to say that.
Hey, well, it's 12 inches inside of
something. Yeah, it's in some movie where you see it, and apparently it's very, very impressive.
Well, I can't remember what movie it is, but the director had him have a stunt double.
Yeah,
because
he had
the
an
director
abnormally large penis.
Confusingly large.
Confusingly large, that's it.
Confusingly large penis.
I had it backwards. So you don't see his penis in film, but it was because it was so big that they had to swap it out.
Cock double.
So I guess that's a weird backhanded compliment. Yeah. Your dick is so huge we can't show it because people won't believe that it's
People
real.
will think it's fake. It's down to your kneecap, man.
Maybe that's why. Well, we'll get to it.
Yeah. I was going to pull back on that,
Mad Dog sliced open a Nazi and saved Troy from either being raped or from doing something to revoke his parole, so that was enough for them to become lifelong friends. And it's prison, so it's fun.
Yeah. It's also set to fun music.
Diesel, on the other hand, is very bright and could have been a lawyer from Stanford, but in this universe, he beats the shit out of people and sets things on fire. Super smart. You'll be astounded at how incredibly intelligent this guy seems throughout the whole film. Mark my words.
I don't know why they felt the need to even include that, like, oh, yeah, this guy's a genius. You never see any evidence
to the
that
other
he's
two guys,
genius.
maybe he's smart, like, compared to Troy and Mad Dog, they think he's intelligent because he's introspective or something.
I guess. He just gets
just to
pissed
highlight
off
how
at the
dumb those two
slightest
guys are.
thing every frickin' time he's in any situation in this whole film. Or he's just not reacting and just looking mean. He's kind of just like if you got a bulldog and just put it in the seat next to Willem Dafoe and just drove and then like did a voiceover over the top of it. It's pretty much the exact same thing.
That's pretty accurate. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I'm just imagining that now. just
Just the dog driving.
Willem Dafoe just like
dog driving.
crying his heart out about killing
Yeah.
his girlfriend, and then this dog just... We see Troy, apparently in the past because the world isn't black and white, getting sentenced for having coke planted on him by an asshole cop. He explains that his mom had a double mastectomy and was probably going to die, so that when his bail is denied, he decided to jump up, grab a gun from a bailiff, and run out of the courthouse, but is shot about 30 feet later. So that explains why he's in jail. Or something.
Well, he says he got because of the coke and the trying to escape from prison by taking a
like
gun and running out. He got 5 to 15.
Yeah,
which is never explicitly stated how many years he actually served. But
I mean, I gotta put it back on him. He got caught by the cops because he made the simple mistake of sitting in his pass out chair, and they got him.
That damn pass out chair gets you every time.
Gets him every time.
Just never leaves that thing.
Troy says Diesel and Mad Dog got out first, so they threw him this glorious black and white strip club bash to celebrate. Troy says he, Mad Dog, and Diesel were Facebook friends before Facebook, and then makes fun of some guy's red pants, I think. He says, the red fucking jeans that hug the elephant's leg, I had no clue. Which, maybe I'm not hip to street talk, but that doesn't make a lick of sense to me. I don't understand what he's...
No, not at all.
Anyway, the guy gets upset because Troy is yelling gibberish at him, so he tells him to get the fuck out of his business, which causes Mad Dog and Diesel to almost kill the dude for some reason. just get into a slight altercation and they want to murder him. Real stable guys. These are our protagonists.
Yeah, these are our heroes. What the fuck did that mean? The red fucking jeans that hug the element's leg. Okay, I'm trying to break it down. So the guy's wearing red jeans and they're tight, so you can see his dick. Which we can't tell
because it's black and white.
Yes.
Right.
So he has to tell us they're red.
I'm thinking that the element's leg is his dick. But on the commentary, or on the subtitles, element was capitalized. So...
Yeah, I thought he was talking about a rapper or something because they'd been discussing, or at some point they discussed like current rappers, and I thought the Element was a rapper that they knew.
What famous rappers hanging out in Cleveland, though?
There are multiple times when I literally just stopped paying attention to the dialogue because I was getting more lost with what was going on currently because trying to figure out what the hell had just happened or what they had been said.
But, I feel like I painstakingly tried to break them all out. To just try and figure out what the fuck they're trying to say, which is, pretty much the next line after this.
Kind of a fool's errand, yeah. Then to calm down his friends, Troy says, we're in this together. We go through that door together, we come out together, and anything other than that, you're a piece of shit. It's a good time to quickly remind the audience that the co-writer of this film wrote Taxi Driver.
One of the greatest films of all time.
Wrote, go through anything other than that, we're a piece of shit.
What the hell does that even mean? Like, okay, let's break that down. We're in this together. Right, so obviously, they're together. We go through the door together. They all came together. They will not leave this club without all of them being together.
They go out together.
Anything
they're still in a group.
Other than that, you're a piece of shit.
So if you ever try to leave the group, you're a piece of shit.
I guess. But okay. Excellent.
It makes sense if you don't think about it.
Yeah, I just didn't think about it.
I think they need to give Michael Caine's Pulitzer from the last movie.
Mad Dog says a bunch of racist stuff about rappers, surprise, is upset that Taylor Swift exists and mistakes Egypt for Iraq, while Troy compliments the suit he and Diesel got him, which prompts a weird-ass shot of Nick Cage looking directly into the camera, doing an Elvis impression, or having a seizure while trying on the new suit back before all color was sucked from the universe. It's here that we realize that the entire scene has been in black and white to cover up the fact that the stupid suit is a baby blue pastel color that would have been super stylish in the 70s.
One thing I noticed the second time around, or I guess it was the third time around, when I was finally finishing up looking for all the Cagiest moments and stuff, it was actually the genius who could have gone to Stanford and become a lawyer who mistaked Iraq for Egypt. It wasn't Mad Dog.
Yeah.
Jesus. Fucking A.
Diesel calls a stripper a French whore to her face, and then she and Troy head upstairs while they have a following exchange. She says, you're actually pretty fucking hot, you know? And he says, well, you're a pretty cute kid yourself, which turned a sexy little scene into a super creepy one. Because Nicolas Cage is 55 years old and this woman's 19, 20.
Yeah.
And he's feeling her up as he says it. And it's just...
It's some creep factor. Didn't feel creepy until that line, but then it was like, ugh. Okay,
she
Grandpa.
Asks her, want to see my Humphrey Bogart impression?
You're pretty cute yourself, see?
I'm gonna grip you, see?
It's looking at you, kid. Take your top off.
Suck it.
She asks for $1,500 before she'll let him unload the gallon he saved up during his 15 years behind bars, but he's positive Mad Dog and Diesel took care of it, which of course they didn't. I was confused on that because I was like, I didn't get the impression that she was asking that they were going to have sex. I got the impression she was asking $1,500 for the lap dance since they're in a public booth, like they're not in a back room or anything like that.
Well, they went
like,
upstairs. So maybe
yeah, but
it's
if
like,
you look, you can still see people around
Really?
them, behind them.
I
Yeah, they're
didn't
just
notice
up in a VIP area. They're not in a secluded room. So like, I'm like, okay, well, but then what lap dance is worth $1,500? So obviously it's something more. But the way they were talking about it,
yeah,
it's they're more overt later on in the movie. So you'd think if it was actually an interaction with a hooker, they would have. I don't know. It just was funny.
yeah, because she also mentions like go talk to the manager. And I would assume that the manager might not publicly want people to know that you can pay $1,500 to fuck one of these girls.
Right. So it was more like, I mean, I haven't been to many strip clubs. $1,500 is probably 15, 20 minutes with a stripper getting a lap dance. So maybe it's,
15, 20 minutes.
I know a guy who dropped $1,500 in about an hour and a half at a strip club.
Yeah.
He got was lap dances. So
yeah. So yeah. I guess it makes sense.
It's pretty sad that when you actually break down how much time you spend in a typical lap dance,
Yeah,
it's not very long.
It's like a minute and a half,
Yeah.
2 minutes. So for
It's
$100,
like-
$200.
Yeah, it's half a pour some sugar on me.
Yeah. So I guess it makes total sense. But then that begs the question, like, what lap dance is worth $1,500? You could get multiple.
I mean, she was a
hookers for
pretty
that amount of
cute
money.
kid, dude.
yeah, she's a French whore. She's off the chain.
She's off the chain.
Aren't they in Vegas right now? I'm trying to remember.
No, it's Cleveland.
Now, so
Cleveland through the whole
right.
thing. Unfortunately, yeah.
I was
Even
thrown
though the
off by the
casino looks like
casinos they go
Vegas.
into,
Yeah.
partying it up in the Cleveland
Yeah,
casinos.
the casino is the Hard Rock in Cleveland, next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I just imagine your $1,500 in Vegas would go a lot further. If
I
you
would
got
think
an
so,
actual
yeah.
escort or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
So, cost of living is a lot cheaper in Cleveland, so I don't think that you would find a stripper that beautiful in Cleveland, though.
No,
I didn't see a C-section or bullet holes, so
Bullet holes. Tracks in the arm.
there's so much in-depth striponomics going on in this discussion. Troy explains that while he was in prison, he paid for whatever Diesel and Mad Dog needed. If his mom needed an eye operation, shit like that. But says once you've had money, you're never sure who you can trust since they might be using you. Oh, really? You think so?
These guys seem like
he has
his
so
best
much money?
friend. At one point, when they're in the car, like casing out the baby job or whatever,
The big mansion or whatever.
I think Diesel says like, "You came for money, right?" And then Troy's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that was a long time ago." So I think he used to have money, and now he's
Right.
Yeah.
going broke
That was
because
just-
of these two nincompoops he hangs out with all the time.
They leave the strip club and miraculously, color returns to the world. The color out of place.
that's what we could call Act 2.
Or Act 3, the finale.
Oh, yeah. The
Color out of place. Troy decides
Pretty
that since he's been
accurate
out of,
description, actually, of the last act.
Yeah, actually, it's true.
Troy decides that since he's been out of prison for 10 minutes and he's on 2 strikes, he should probably get back to doing some crime. He hooks up with an old buddy named Greco the Greek, who's played by writer-director Paul Schrader, which we mentioned before, who is just an atrocious actor. Like, holy shit, you could have walked outside in Hollywood, thrown a rock, and found a better actor. Also, his voice sounds like if you combine Tom Waits and Nick Nolte into the same person, had them gargle rock salt shortly before catching laryngitis.
It's a friend of mine, Armenian dude, former friend actually, used to be a deputy DA prosecuting drug cases.
So I have 2 quick facts for this. One, Paul Schrader actually had laryngitis during this scene. So there you go.
Wow. All right.
There you go.
He had 3 scenes he shot in one day. All of his parts were all shot in one day, and all 3 of them he was fighting laryngitis, so it works for his character, I guess.
So I'm half right with this joke because the quick fact you're going to mention.
Yes.
After that,
this is an amazing list of people that Paul Schrader approached to play the role of Greco the Greek. Michael Wincott, Michael Douglas, Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, Nick Nolte, Christopher Walken, Jeff Goldblum, and Rupert Everett.
What the fuck?
Apparently, Martin Scorsese actually agreed to do the role, but when it came to the shooting schedule, it ended up landing on Martin Scorsese's birthday. And he said in the commentary that they actually, at that point in shooting, wouldn't have even had the budget to pay for his flight to come to Cleveland to shoot the role.
Damn.
So, since none of that worked out, to avoid going over budget, he played the role himself and made $900 because of, the union.
Himself. I guess the studio paid him.
You have to pay.
Scorsese was gonna do it, but he couldn't, and then I ended up doing it.
I was gonna get Nick Nolte for some reason.
So there, I made the Nick Nolte joke, not even realizing that.
That's fucking hilarious. Oh my god, that's awesome.
Here's $5,000.
I would have loved to see Christopher Walken in that role, though.
Oh my god, would have been so good.
Any of them.
I got a job for you. $5,000. I got an Armenian friend. Well, former friend, actually.
I think for our Patreon followers, we need to have you do his readings as Christopher Walken.
Yeah, it's rambling, incoherent things. Yeah. Just edit it into the movie.
I would love to do that. That'd be great, actually.
The Greek gives Troy $5,000 that he doesn't want him to share with the lunatics he hangs out with. He then mumbles and ums his way through a barely understandable monologue about an Armenian friend, a former friend actually, who used to be a district attorney who got sick of going poor while his clients got so rich, so he switched sides, got a bungalow, a little puss on the side, but now he needs some money his wife don't know about. And there's this, it's set over a montage flashback scene of this character that we don't really see again. It's just there.
It's never referenced again.
To provide more visual noise to the to the indecipherable dialogue.
There was a lot of moments that felt like it was like he was trying to do what Scorsese does,
Right. Mm-hmm. You do a monologue, you flash over, show what's going on as someone talks about it.
But not done well. By the way, the framing of that scene, I don't know if you noticed it.
Yes.
Where his head is just kind of off in the corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've only ever seen that in one other place, and it was the TV show Bad Robot. And guess what? In the commentary, he said, "Yeah, I just watched Bad Robot, and I really like the framing."
And
just to throw people off guard.
It was distracting.
Those shots pulled me out. I thought that was why I didn't understand the story that he was telling. It just turns out he was telling an incoherent story to begin with anyways.
He's just not using the visual medium of film in a way that is conductive to what he's talking about.
Yeah. No. He's trying to make it more interesting.
To the detriment. Right,
but not make the story interesting in the slightest.
But he failed on both fronts.
Yeah, because done well, you can play with conventions that we all naturally have from watching thousands of movies, and you can change the way shots are framed to disorient people and to cause confusion. Mm-hmm. But
it has to have a point, and in Bad Robot, it has a point. Like the whole thing is like trying to throw you off the whole time because he's like this schizophrenic weirdo. Spoilers, and like everything he sees is disjointed and screwed up because his brain doesn't work like other people. So it makes sense in that context. It doesn't make sense here just because you saw it in a show and you're like, I like that. Let's do it in this scene for no goddamn reason.
Then he calls a black guy a monkey. Who calls himself Moon Man, but they used to call him Balloon Head, but now they call him Guard. Then he tells Troy about all the different cars this guy drives and that he's got a fat friend who he thinks is his bodyguard. Why, any of this is relevant, I have no idea. All it seems to accomplish is to make the dialogue practically impossible to follow in the slightest. Just like,
I had no idea what his actual name was. In the subtitles it says Moon Man, but I didn't pick that up until the third time I watched it, because he's like, calls himself Moon Man. He used to call himself Balloon Head, but now he calls himself Guard. And well, what the fuck is his name then? Just say what his name is. Why did you say that?
It's Guard now.
Is it Guard because he says his name is Moon Man?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Anyway, the DA guy told the Greek how to rip off whatever the fuck this guy's actual name is and sends Troy and his goons to do the job. Troy says they need cop uniforms, and then he tells him that Mad Dog is joining in on the fun. Then the Greek gets upset at the thought of Mad Dog joining in on the job, and he can't understand why Troy does business with him. Same here. We're all in agreement.
Yeah. So I picked up again on the third watch that he doesn't know where the stash is. This DA doesn't contribute anything to it. He's just like, you guys got to figure out where the stash is, and then they don't.
Say like this drug dealer's got money. That's the tip.
Yeah, like obviously, god damn it. And they don't beat it out of him in the car. They just are like, we're going to your stash. We already know where it is. And he's like, they already knew where it was. And it's like, how did they find out? Because
they should have made him direct it to where it is.
Yes.
That's what I thought they were going to do. But then they say explicitly they knew where it was already, and they just brought him there to open the door, I guess. Which doesn't even work, because the guy behind the door immediately sees they're holding the guy at gunpoint, so they could have just... we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Then he says, like the old fudge puncher said, a man kills the things he loves. Wait, is that who says that? Is that Troy? Or is that...
No, that was
that's
Greco.
True.
Yeah.
That's Greco.
What the fuck does that mean? All right, let's break it down. The old fudge puncher is apparently Oscar Wilde, because he was gay. Mm-hmm. A man kills the thing he loves comes from the poem The Ballad of Reading Jail. Something Troy, a man who just had sex with a stripper a third of his age and just got out of prison where he was for 15 years, instantly knew what he was referring to. Maybe they read a lot of Oscar Wilde in prison.
Yeah, they read a lot of Oscar Wilde, gay guy in prison, where they're completely offended by black people who listen to rap the whole time. What I got from that was if you read into that story, it's like a man kills the thing that he loves, and it was basically talking about Mad Dog loving Troy so much that eventually he's going to cause him to die, or is going to fuck up his whole operation, which actually does happen. But I felt like this whole line was just written so that A, Paul Schrader would sound like a homophobe, and B, so he would sound super smart because he knows Oscar Wilde for some reason. So fucking every scene in this movie is just so fucking confusing. Why is this in the movie? Why was that necessary to put in there? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Me either.
That's how I felt the whole time.
Same. Yeah.
I was trying to write notes, but I'm like, well, I don't even know what I'm writing notes about, because I don't understand really what's happening and why this is important, or what even is relevant. Maybe it is important. Who the fuck knows? This is all the first act setup, and it's so super confusing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I guess the bottom line is we know there's 3 psychopaths that have just gotten out of prison, and they're going to go rip off a drug dealer. That's all this setup.
That's all we really needed.
Yeah, that's all we needed.
20 some odd minutes into the movie. We've been talking for over an hour just to get to this point.
Act 2. Let's get some motivation up in this thing.
All right, so pseudo Act 2. This, like I said, this movie doesn't really follow the 3-act structure, but we just broke it up wherever. Yeah, doesn't really make any sense, just like the movie.
Next, we see Troy, Mad Dog, and Diesel saying some more horribly racist shit about hood rats, gangster rap, and BET in a Crown Victoria that they haphazardly dressed up like a cop car with duct tape or or something. I'm not sure.
It's not even neat. It's just like two sloppy lines with police written in duct tape on the side of the car. And
really well done. Really well done.
And nobody notices. Everybody buys into it.
Yeah, everybody. Up until we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we'll get there.
They spot Moon Man, balloon head or guard, and his fat friend coming out of a corner store and follow them, but not before the fat guy has trouble getting in the car because, he's fat. There goes the suspension.
This is my favorite moment in the film.
They pull over the guy who I'm still unsure what his name is, so I'm just going to start calling him Rick Ross and Chunky Drew Carey. They pretend to run his license, then cuff him and put him in their car. Rick Ross gets immediately suspicious when they don't go to the police station, so Troy pulls a gun on him and says they're headed to his stash house, which we already talked about.
I just thought, what cop gets in the back seat with the person they just threw into the car? And
there's three. Yeah, there's three cops.
Three cops.
There's no
barrier.
There's no barrier. It's just a car with police taped on the side.
With police taped on the side. Nick Cage is in the back. Yeah, but then then we're going to your stash house. They already knew where it was. That point still just bothers me. They already know where it is, yet they're still. What's the point? Is kidnapping Rick Ross? I mean, he didn't do nothing. Troy pops him in the face, and Rick Ross spits blood all over the window. So naturally, Troy plays "Got Your Nose" with him for a second before heading to the stash. They pull up to the house, and Rick Ross tells the three guys, "Go home, smell you later." He looked at his kingdom. He was finally there to sit on his throne as the Prince of Bel-Air. Anyways, so things get heated right away. The neighbors get suspicious about the duct tape on decals of the cop car and start chucking shit through the window while they beat Rick Ross in an effort to find out where the stash is. So I guess they needed him to show them where the stash was, because they couldn't just look for themselves.
So they knew where the house was, but they didn't know where the stash was inside the house. So I guess that jives and makes sense with what Greco said.
But they could have just made the guy who opened the door show them where the stash was.
Or they could
have.
Yeah, they could have broken the house in the middle of the night and searched it after, incapacitating the dude who just bitched out.
Well, they had to show those cool cutaways of his mansion and him decorating it for whatever reason.
That's true.
But they're also just in the middle of this ghetto making a shitload of noise.
Yeah.
Surrounded by a bunch of other people in this same gang.
Who happen to be the most intelligent people in this film, might I add. They're like, hey, something's not right here. Wait, this is fucking duct tape. We should probably do something because these guys aren't real cops.
Yeah.
So they take the law into their own hand. Mad Dog goes outside and miraculously doesn't just start blasting. Instead, he comes back in and asks permission to waste a couple. This is how we know he's grown up a lot since he brutally slaughtered Honey Boo Boo and her mom.
He's got manners. He's trying.
He's trying
to turn a page a little bit. Yeah.
That really got to him, He's trying to change his ways. Luckily, he comes back inside because Mad Dog ends up spotting a false wall and kicks it in, revealing the drugs they're after. When someone from outside shoots blindly into the house, sending them all to the floor, before they then decide to get up and storm right out the front door into a crowd.
So they weren't actually looking for the drugs.
At them.
They were looking for the stash still. They didn't care about the drugs. That was one of the things too that I didn't make any. They're they found the drugs, but they didn't want them. They wanted the stash. They wanted the money.
Yeah.
So they were pissed off that they found the drugs.
But they took the drugs and they end up flipping that with Greco. Yeah. So they still get a little bit of money.
Yeah. But they failed the job, really.
Yeah, they failed the job. They're not the best at this.
5 minutes more, they probably could have found the stash.
He only paid him $5,000 to do this job, which is, a third of what it costs to get a lap dance. So you're not getting the best.
In terms of lap dances, not the best payout. With a body like that, I'm sure Mad Dog could have made more money stripping than he does as a criminal. Mad Dog fires a shot.
Extra just for the eyes, every time I see those eyes. Extra $1.
Mad Dog fires a shotgun into the air, causing everyone to scatter like little cockroaches so they can make their grand escape. The three of them celebrate pulling off the perfect crime by partying at a Motel 6 or something. Troy asked, mumbling Greek, for $10,000 for pulling off the job, but he only gives him $9,000. He spent $300 of it on some broads and got Mad Dog a little Coke because that's what he needs.
Well, how else are you going to have your little gay party in the Motel 6 room with the shirtless men?
Thank you, Nigel, because then we watched them party by jumping on the bed, dancing, doing coke, smoking weed, rubbing Diesel's head, eating Fruit Loops with orange juice, which is by far the most offensive thing here, flicking each other's wieners, speaking in tongues, and screaming at the top of their lungs about stealing shit in a hotel with paper-thin walls, all through a distorted video effect for some goddamn reason. I don't understand what his thought process was behind this scene.
To make you look disorienting, man.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
It's cool.
It felt like something out of Zoolander, like when they were having the gasoline fight. Yeah, because they were just
I can't remember.
You know, when you're like trying to watch HBO on cable, like that was the effect that I got. It was like,
same.
For a second you can see a boob, and then it goes back to just distortion, and then
I
feel like it was just to make us
in this
sick.
hotel room.
I mean, it was to remind us that it was a comedy, guys.
Oh yeah, that's
I
right.
really got the vibes that they
movie's
had to
hilarious.
film that. Like that's filmed in a budget hotel room because they literally could only afford a budget hotel room to film this.
Seriously looks like a Motel 6, man.
100%. I believe it was. It was filmed in a Motel 6. Which
they didn't tell them they were doing it. They probably didn't have the permits to do it. They just
filmed it.
Is that
which is why they
Nick
couldn't really do
Cage
anything.
and Willem Dafoe going into
they couldn't
room
really
16?
do anything hardcore, like trashing the room or anything. They just had to like take their shirts off and be
slap
silly.
each other around.
Yeah, just be something they can clean up really easily. Don't go too overboard, guys. Just be a little silly.
Fruit Loops and orange juice, dude. That's how you know they're crazy.
Paul Schrader said that they like he would film them for hours, like that was his intentional. And he's done this many times, is what he said. Is like, I just have the actors just do a bunch of silly stuff for hours, and then I just cut it together. Like
that
sounds like perverted.
That's what sounds like your uncle tells the judge when he's at his court hearing.
Jump around for hours.
Just jump around for hours, just being silly. They head to a casino for more meaningless to the story partying, where we'll spend 11 minutes that could have been trimmed from the film, and you'd never know the difference. A skanky-looking girl who just so happens to look exactly like my buddy's wife, sorry, Kevin, is instantly turned on by Diesel's charms at the bar when he points at the bartender and says, "This fucking dude's a cock." First words I said to Nigel and Patrick, word for word, we instantly fell in love. He then goes on a rant about how he likes his drink without ice, then shows her the spa menu for some reason. She suggests he throw the ice cubes into the bartender's face, and he says that wouldn't be a good choice. Then she feels his muscles, and they decide to head back to his room. So, to recap, in the 1 minute and 26 seconds they've known each other, he called a dude just doing his job a cock, explained what a neat cocktail is, showed her the spa menu. She said he should beat up the bartender since he's a big guy. He made it clear that if he did, he'd go back to prison. She felt his arm, and that was enough for her to decide, yeah, this dude seems safe. I'll head back to his room with him.
Paul Schrader himself described this entire casino bit of the movie that is 11 minutes of absolute nothing, that is completely unnecessary. The intermission of the film. You know how all good movies just don't have a fucking point in the middle of the movie?
Checks out. I went and took a piss during this 11 minutes. So.
But none of the movie has a point. How would you know when the part that has no point is the intermission?
Yeah. They should have just put a big intermission over the entire scene.
Yeah. With some music.
This is pointless. This is pointless. This is pointless.
Do you know where Nice is?
I mean, I guess the point was to show that all three of them can't even get with
do any.
hookers.
Yeah.
That was kind of the point I
properly.
got out of this whole section was like, these guys are absolute fucking losers, and unless they're pulling off a job, they have nothing to do with their lives. They're just losers in every facet of their entire being. So, yeah, unless they're committing crimes, they might as well just be dead.
Spoiler alert. So next we see Mad Dog getting a really uncomfortable looking back massage, which, now that I'm thinking about it, could have been a pretty intense pegging session.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck.
She was like beating him on the back.
Yeah, I had to rewind because I'm like, is he getting ass fucked or something? Like, 'cause it's like in the background and they close the door on it. Like, I don't want to go in there. But
One thing I was
massage.
very confused of. I guess this could be saved for the questions section, but like in the Motel 6 earlier, he said that he paid $300 for some broads, but when we get there, Troy obviously has a hooker. Mad Dog has a masseuse.
Masseuse, yeah.
And
Diesel
Diesel
picked up some
doesn't
chick at the
have. He
bar.
just picked up some random chick at the bar. So who did he pay $300 to, and why does she ask for $300 later for a blowjob? Well, we'll get there, but
Yeah,
So I
don't
figured
know.
this was a different set of.
so this was a
women.
different time, right?
It had to
But
be.
why don't we see those women at
Or it got
the
lost in the
crazy, frenetic scene of them like
Three
partying at
guys
the
messing
Motel
around.
6?
Who fucking knows? So Troy closes the door that connects his room with Mad Dog's because obviously lifelong friends like these would have adjoining rooms. Troy asks a prostitute if she's ever been to Nice, France. And you'd never guess it, but no, she's never been. Troy continues to wax poetic about Nice and how he went there as a kid. He says he wants to go back after he makes some money and asks if she wants to go with him. They seem to have a real connection here.
So I guess there's another hint that he came from money because they had vacationed in Nice when he was a kid.
They've been able to leave the country, which, I mean, looking at this chick, definitely didn't grow up in the same financial background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says she looks like Marlene Dietrich and explains that he really likes the classic stars of the 30s, like Bogart, Cagney, and Edward G. Robinson, who talks like this, see? Yeah. Why on earth did I point that out, you might be asking? Well, stay tuned. She tells him that she needs $300 to go down on him, but it'll be worth it because she knows how to do it. Then instantly gags on his fingers. Not fingers. She puts like 3, almost 4 fingers in her mouth and starts gagging. If she can't handle that, I just gotta say, she's a lying bitch. Something tells me that wasn't part of the initial scene. Like, I think she went a little overboard.
I think it was just comedy again, you know. It's
that's right.
It was
funny.
kind of funny.
It was there to remind us this is a comedy.
Yeah, see?
Well, I don't get it though. There was no distorted facial expressions, so I don't know how we're supposed to know that it's funny.
Troy then again asks her if she wants to go to Nice, and she says probably not, since she's got to get her headshots taken, and her gay roommate is going to help her record a record album. It's pretty standard for most hookers.
Well, she needs to get a
be
new
a model.
job.
They're gonna be a model.
Yeah, she's going to be a model/singer.
She's obviously not good at being a prostitute, so falling back on her music career.
Then Troy asks this nincompoop if she's ever heard of a gemstone called black tourmaline, which I hadn't heard and have trouble pronouncing because I'm a child. And you'd never guess it, but no, she's never heard of it. At this point, like during these scenes, I started, and I know you guys are on the same wavelength. Like, what is the point of this fucking movie? What is the point of these fucking scenes? Anyways,
He's just a hard on his luck criminal
Yeah.
who wants to get
Stuff
back to the
happens.
fancy life.
You know,
whole time
things in this
he's like-
world happen sometimes, you know?
I guess the whole time, like, he's trying to make this connection with her, and she has no interest in it. Yeah, he still keeps plowing on, like trying. And
If
then,
that ain't life, I don't know what is.
and then, his conclusion is she's just a bitch.
Yeah.
I can't believe she
fucking plus. He says later.
I can't believe she wouldn't want to go to Paris with him. Or Nice. She wouldn't want to go to Nice with him. Pop back over in Mad Dog's room, where he's getting a unenthusiastic hand job from the masseuse, who isn't apparently into it because of Willem Dafoe's weirdly shaped stomach, which you really do have to see because it was super distracting. I'm not sure if anybody else noticed it, but what the hell was going on with that?
What the hell was going on with that, like,
and she's
concave thing?
She's totally jerking off his knee, like his right knee, in the way their eye line and where her hand's located is not where his penis should be.
Like we said before, he's got a huge cock.
He's got a huge dick.
Could be.
So
yeah, he's got a tripod.
there you go.
He's got a tripod.
I thought about that when I saw that. I was like, is that supposed to be clever, or are they just like she doesn't want to go anywhere near the 70-year-old man's crotch for the $300 they paid her to be in the scene?
I think she got less than that, Nigel, let's be honest.
She might have been an actual hooker. That's where the $300 went. We don't want to pay an actress for this.
Yeah. Just get a hooker off the street. They should be easy to find. She starts checking her phone, which really pisses Mad Dog off, so he throws her out, which is probably the kindest thing he does in this movie.
Paul Schrader said that there was a cut scene of him actually going back to the bed and jerking himself off while repeating, "I'm not a loser, I'm not a loser," over and over and over again. And he thought that pulled people out of the movie.
Not Willem Dafoe's oddly shaped stomach, but him jerking off. Yeah.
Or this whole scene?
This whole 11 minutes?
God.
Over in Diesel's room, the whore he picked up after less than 2 minutes is raiding his minibar. Diesel explains that it takes 1.1 gallons of water to make one almond, reminding us he's a genius who could have been a lawyer from Stanford.
He knows the Snapple facts, man.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. He's good for something.
I identified with him in this scene because I know all kinds of these stupid-ass, useless facts as well.
Well, you should have been a lawyer, sir.
Yeah.
They then have a conversation about how Elliot Smith died, which, for those who don't know, is a way more interesting story than everything that's happened up to this point in this movie so far.
It actually is. It's actually a really interesting story and really fucked up how he died, but
and it's way more interesting than how this movie continues to go.
We just put can we put on a movie about Elliot Smith?
Well, yeah, let's talk about Elliot Smith for the rest of this thing.
Yeah. Diesel isn't as enthralled as you might imagine, since he just wants to get down to knocking boots, and this dumb skank he's known for 3 minutes of screen time won't give it up. Which leads to him freaking out because she keeps trying to get to know him, and the reasonable thing to do is break a glass. Naturally she runs out of the room. She's fucking terrified him. It's
because she finds out he's from prison, apparently. Like, she just learns this. And he freaks out because he's like, didn't I make it clear down in the bar when I said I shouldn't assault the bartender? It would have been a bad idea. And apparently she's supposed to infer that means that he's on his second strike and would go back to prison for life if he did that.
Yeah.
And she's dumb, so she didn't take anything of it. And then he freaks out because she's just stupid and didn't realize that he had been in prison.
Yeah.
And then he chases her out.
Yeah.
What kind of idiot doesn't know that it takes 1.1 gallons of water to grow an almond? Therefore, it's better for the environment than a Snickers. Oh, wait, no, opposite. Snickers are better for the environment.
Unless it's an almond Snickers.
Fuck.
Yeah. You're really screwed.
He chases her down the hall to apologize, but for some reason, this unhinged psycho's wily charms don't work on her. He explains that he's not a violent person, even though every moment he's been in this movie, he's been violent. She says she doesn't feel comfortable and leaves, which, I mean, fucking pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah, I think she would have ended up dead.
Yeah, I think so too. The next morning, the three of them meet up in a food court where Mad Dog tells Troy how much he appreciates the amazing night he had with the unenthusiastic masseuse. He says they need to get real jobs with big money, which prompts Mad Dog to say that he loves rubbing his bare feet on carpet since they didn't have carpet in prison and that prison floors are covered in boogers and jizz. He then compares the fill of carpet on his feet to soft, shaved pussy. Quick fact. Mad Dog's lines were directly lifted from Die Hard. Okay, they weren't, but it would have been totally hilarious to hear John McClane say that before blasting an entire group of Euro trash terrorists.
This feels like soft-shaved pussy, Holly. Make fists
Take
with
a
your
note,
toes.
Holly. You know, our marriage would have worked out if your pussy felt more like this floor. So, okay. Troy then says he's going to get them a gig so good, it'll take their tits off.
I'll get us a real good gig. I'll get us such a good gig. Take your tits off.
To which I thought when he said that, what the fuck does that mean? Why does any of this need to be in the film? This doesn't add any value.
It's the intermission. It's the intermission, man.
It just prolongs this movie for no reason.
Had to fill an hour and a half somehow.
I guess. Fuck. Man.
This entire thing, I counted it. It was 11 minutes. So this entire section of the movie is the intermission, according to the director of the film, who put an intermission of boring shit in the middle of the movie for no fucking reason other than to just have an intermission in the movie. 11 minutes of screen time that didn't have to be there in any way, shape, or form. It was almost like, you know, how Tarantino just kind of has a cut back to something else. It's like a whole nother story. Like, it was almost like he was trying to do that, but he couldn't afford other actors or any other sets or anything. He was just, well, let's just have an intermission. That'll be fun. That'll make this comedy hilarious.
It's roughly 12% of the runtime, by the way.
I don't think he understands what the definition of intermission is.
Like I said, I think the whole point of this whole thing was to just show how much of the, losers these guys are.
Yeah,
I guess. I mean,
and they had no other choice but to continue. You know, they pulled off this job, and things could have been fine, and they could have quit, but they didn't have anything else in their lives.
They can't function and
they
do
can't
anything
function
else.
like normal humans. Yeah.
So now we're back at the Mumbling Greeks. Troy asks a Mexican mob boss named Chepe if he looks like Humphrey Bogart, since a movie producer in prison said he looked like a stretched out Humphrey Bogart.
Do you think I look like Humphrey Bogart?
No.
Well, you see, that's interesting because I'm a big film buff. Bogart was the best, the king. When I was in the joint, there was a movie producer who was in there with me, and I says to him, I says, do you think I look like Humphrey Bogart? And he says, well, yeah, you do, but a stretched out version of him.
It's a fantastic story.
Which was a compliment to him for some fucking reason. And made me wonder, does he kind of look like a stretched out? No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't look anything like Humphrey Bogart. If anything, he looks like John Cusack in this movie. Like, there are points, especially when from a distance, I'm like, he looks like John Cusack for some reason right there.
They do have similar profiles, facial profiles.
And they're doing similar movies these days. I don't know if you've noticed what John Cusack has been up to, but he's pretty much Nick Cage at this point in his career.
Juan, deadpan, says, that's a fantastic story, and stares at the guy he's about to offer hundreds of thousands of dollars to do a job for him like he's an idiot. Ditto, Rico. Ditto. Esteban then explains that he's a heavy hitter, but the economy is shitty, to which Troy says, I heard that, in his best Humphrey Bogart. He did, which I honestly couldn't tell that's what he was trying to do.
I heard that.
Because it's just Nick Cage, right?
He's just doing a weird voice.
It was just Cage being Cage. He did say he wanted to get this job, right? Probably not the best impression to leave on the dude who's hiring you. Jose explains there's a guy who owes him a lot of money, so he suggests that Troy incentivize him by kidnapping his 1-year-old kid. Troy monologues that he doesn't like the sound of kidnapping and quotes some crime statistics saying that there hasn't been an unsolved kidnapping for ransom in the United States in a long time. He offers Troy $500,000 to do the job and then reveals he's a good guy because the baby won't remember being kidnapped. If he was 4, he'd never do that. Ugh, such a sweet guy. Sensing Troy's reluctance, which is kind of weird, why would he be reluctant? He throws in another $250,000, and Troy agrees.
a terrible way to negotiate.
Yeah.
He's like,
Hey, guy who's been off-putting this entire conversation. Here's
Guy who
another
just botched
$250,000.
guy who just botched another job and then
Yeah.
blew all the money.
Blew all the money in one frickin' night at a casino for no reason.
We see Choi and Diesel at a bar where sunken stomach ladies man, Mad Dog, is making out with a girl at a table.
So it's another strip club bar because there's a stripper
It
pole
is.
just in the middle of the room.
Yeah. She's
Just
waxing
the ones
it.
you buy to stick in your living room.
He's making out
Paul
with the
Schrader
chick.
said that this was just a bar, and they decided to make it a strip club for some goddamn reason.
Never could have tell.
I can tell. I just love that he's making out with this girl who, you know, she could be like Puerto Rican or Native American or Indian, you know, he doesn't know. She doesn't taste, what did he say? She doesn't taste Puerto Rican.
Doesn't taste Puerto Rican.
What does a Puerto Rican taste like? The sandwiches, the thing?
Cubanos?
Cubanos, yeah. Oh, no, that's Cuba. That's a different.
I don't know.
Never would have guessed
I
that from the
apologize to our
name of
Puerto
the
Rican
sandwich.
fans. We hope one day you'll be the 51st state.
52nd. Let's. Yeah. DC's coming first.
Yeah.
Touche. Troy lays out the job to the all-stars he works with, and they eagerly agree after Troy explains that they're never going to get anywhere in life if they don't pull a big job. He sweetens the deal by saying they only have two options: total victory or death.
So it's Total Samurai, man.
Total Samurai.
Jackie Chan.
Total samurai. Going out like
Chan.
samurais. Jackie Chan.
Now, I pass it off to you, Patrick, to land this plane that's on fire.
Oh my God.
And descending at a rapid pace. May God be with you.
Buckle up, kids, because
One of
we're
the
in for
pilots
a
is
bumpy
dead.
landing.
Cabin's depressurized. One of the
Buckle
wheels
up,
of the
buckaroo.
landing gear doesn't work.
Act 3. Time to resolve some shit.
This ought to be fun. The last 40 minutes of this movie are cinematic gold.
There's something.
All right. We see the guy who owes Chepe money heading home to surprise his baby mama, who is apparently cheating on him or something that was never made clear. I didn't really get what the fuck he was going home for. I don't.
And we're watching like 3 or 4 different phone conversations at once, like cut
yeah.
into each other.
Paul Schrader said that he just filmed him doing the take over and over and over again, and then just did jump cuts so that it would be interesting. And
So it's all supposed to be the same conversation because I felt
It's
like
all
it
the
was
same
like 3
conversation,
conversations.
yeah.
I thought it was different conversations.
Which is why
It
they were
was
shot
all the
like different
same-
times a day, different locations.
the same paragraph, all just cut in different locations.
Jesus Christ.
Again, I feel like he was trying to do something like what Scorsese would do, which, you know, you've seen that in Scorsese films before. Like, Goodfellas is a good example where he's like running from the chopper and he's talking on the phone and like he keeps looking for the chopper. But that actually made sense for what was happening. Anyways, that whole scene is set to the music that plays over the end credits of Ferris Bueller's Day Off for some reason.
It's a comedy.
You notice it was
It's a
pretty
comedy.
much. It was like a take on Boo No.
Yeah.
I was like that through that whole scene. It was I couldn't get over that. I just kept hearing Boo No. Anyways.
Oh, yeah.
He said that the people who did the music for this movie had never scored a movie before. Surprisingly.
I couldn't tell.
And they
students?
do avant-garde music. They do experimental music and not actual music that, you know, is coherent.
Right.
But apparently they're a big fan of Mellow Yellow from the 80s who did that song. Next, we see our heroes break into the house where the baby's at, unaware that the guy is inside waiting with a gun. They head upstairs where the babysitter and baby are asleep. So I guess Brennan broke into the house, grabbed a gun out of a dresser that was already there that he already knew about. The babysitter later says that she didn't recognize the guy, didn't know who he was. So he just knew that gun was there in that dresser in this place that he apparently doesn't spend very much time, enough time for this babysitter who apparently has been there long enough to, never see him
she's
once.
the nanny, so childcare, live-in nanny.
Then he sits down on the couch, and the babysitter who was in the house already, because she never spots him, Never came downstairs once. She just was up there with the baby. And it was daytime when he came in and nighttime later on. So at least probably at the minimum, like 3 hours.
Yeah,
that she never came downstairs. But probably more like 6 to 12 hours is what I was kind of envisioning in my head. Because it looked like afternoon when he came in, and then it was night when they broke in.
It's like full on night.
Yeah.
So they go up, so the three genius all-star leads of this film head upstairs to the baby's room. And then the sneaky dude, Brennan, I guess, comes into the room, flips on the light, so Mad Dog immediately blows his head off with a shotgun. Just flips around like, who's this guy? Bam! And just blows his head off.
And then Troy's line.
Troy voices his displeasure with what he just did by saying, "Bad dog." The fuck is this movie? Diesel chokes the babysitter for a minute while Troy tries to figure out how to shut up the baby. He asks what the thing is that you put in a baby's mouth to shut it up, to which Mad Dog says, dick? Which apparently was a line that Willem Dafoe threw out in rehearsals, and everybody laughed. So they just were like, put it in the movie.
Yeah, sure.
To remind us it's a comedy.
Hilarious to stick a dick in a newborn baby's mouth. They check the headless guy's wallet, producing a license with the name Jose Vasquez. Mad Dog and Diesel steal the headless guy's truck and take off with the baby and the babysitter while Troy waits for the mom. She comes home and he shoots her immediately for no goddamn reason. Even though she said she was going to cooperate and call Brennan so that he could pay the fucking ransom. That's the whole point of them being there.
Yeah.
So the two
why he
people
kills her.
who could have done anything to try and like actually get money for this stolen baby are both dead now. Of course, they don't know that. They don't know that the guy they just blew the head off of was the guy who owed the money.
Yeah, they thought he was some bodyguard.
Quick fact, Paul Schrader said that he killed her because they didn't know what to do with her character after that.
Oh my God.
Always great. You're just like...
I kind of felt like that was
They had the nanny, so sure, you don't need the mom.
They weren't supposed to kill her. In the script and the budget and all that kind of stuff that they sent over to the producers of the film, she wasn't supposed to die. And they didn't have things set up to actually shoot her. They didn't have the squibs. They didn't have the experts on hand that are supposed to handle that type of stuff. So that's why they just show a flash from outside. Yeah. But on the day, he was just like, I don't know what to do with her. And then Nick Cage was like, why don't we just shoot her? So that's what they did.
I had a feeling that's exactly the reasoning behind it, because that was such an awkward scene. Lady, I don't got time for this. And then it just cuts to outside and you see a flash. And then I actually I was like, what the fuck? I actually did a physical jump back because I was like, wait, what the? So how are they going to get the money then?
Yeah, I got
this
pulled
dude
out of the
that
movie
they just,
right there.
like this guy that they just Zombieland, he's probably the guy that, was going to pay him out. So now where are they going to get the money? And then I thought, well they're going to be running from the mob, so that makes sense. So now the mob is, and then, none of that shit ever happened, and I was writing a better movie in my head.
I hope that actress got paid up front, but
Me too.
Since they didn't even pay Nicolas Cage when he showed up, I doubt it.
Probably not. Yeah. She's still probably chasing the studios for her $300. We see these three geniuses locking the babysitter and the baby into an abandoned house that looks like it'd be super easy to get out of. Like, there's like a couple of boards.
It's like
pull the board off and you just walk right out. Troy leaves her with a fully functioning cell phone that he'll call her on to give her the combination to get out of the house. The little lock that she could get out of. She could foreseeably use this cell phone to get help. But he tells her not to call anybody, so I'm sure she didn't. She just
system.
He told her there are people outside who will be very angry if she calls the cops.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
So why not just call them to unlock her and let her and the baby go?
They're going to get real mad if they see anything suspicious. See? Yeah.
See? Yeah. See? Why are you talking like that? Talking like what? See?
Then he makes out with her just for the hell of it, and they leave. We never see this house again. We never see the baby or the babysitter again. For the rest of the film, it is never mentioned again. Just out of sight, out of mind.
So
the
we can
whole
only
point
assume
of
she's
this
starved to
crime.
death in the house.
Her and the baby are emaciated mummies inside of that house now.
I
Welcome to
feel like
Cleveland.
the actress's reaction to him like making out with her felt so real and uncomfortable that it felt like it was unscripted.
It was
Oh
not
my
scripted.
God.
Nick Cage just did it. And
Jesus.
to the surprise of everyone in the scene, including Willem Dafoe, if you watch him in the back, he's kind of like, what the hell? And then and like Paul Schrader was caught off guard as well. Yeah, so
The real reason why they had to kill the wife is because they now owed this lady her $300 so she wouldn't file sexual harassment against Nicolas Cage for being a freaking
Jesus.
Yep. You know how women just love being kissed by random strangers without warning, you know?
right. Improv.
It's okay.
Improv.
He's Nick Cage.
Yeah, it's Nick Cage. It's fine. Troy heads to buy a disposable phone to call the Greek, while Diesel and Mad Dog head to dispose of the headless guy. But not the mom that they shot. He just left her in the house, which begs the question, why bother? Why bother disposing of this guy when you didn't dispose of the other? Well, obviously, they know a murder happened there. Now they know two murders happened there.
Because it wasn't in the script. Because she wasn't dead in the original script,
I
so
know,
they didn't bother
but,
to...
you know, if we're going by movie logic here, like, what in the fuck was the point of disposing of the one body but not the other? Just left her there, so why did you bother?
At least include a line of dialogue that says, you know, we got both of them in the back and now we got to go, you know.
That would have
You don't have
worked.
to show two bodies, just say you got both in the...
That would have worked, but I'm sure that scene was probably shot after the other scene. But anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Troy lies to Greco and says the mom never showed up. Mumbles McGee then explains that the guy they shot was in fact Brennan, while Nick Cage punches a car in a way that only Nick Cage could do, that had the audacity of almost hitting him while he was walking blindly through the parking lot on his phone. I love that, like, smack on the hood and then get out of here.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Bad dog.
Greco tells him to meet him in the morning at Captain Tacos by the bagel place.
the highest class
The
of
guy who wrote
criminals here.
Taxi Driver co-wrote this film.
I thought he said by the pickle place because
by
I
the
couldn't
bagel
understand
place.
a fucking word he was saying.
Nick Cage actually repeats it later on. Okay, by the bagel place.
That's the only reason why I knew he said bagel.
And he says he'll see if he can cool off Chepe, who might be a little upset that they blew the guy's head off, who owes him $5 million. Yeah, he might be slightly upset. I'll see if I can cool him off there.
I love the look on his face when he hangs up the phone, too. It's just one of like, I'm trying to show that I'm not happy, but I don't know how to act, so it just comes off like I just maybe shit my pants a little bit, like a wet fart came out. He licks his lips.
This was Paul Schrader's acting debut, if you couldn't tell. He's never acted in anything before.
And his acting bow.
Yeah. I don't think we'll
I
ever
don't
be
know what
casting
the opposite
him.
of debut is called. It's that, whatever that is.
He apparently at one point warned Martin Scorsese, if you remember Taxi Driver, he plays a guy who pays Travis Bickle to stop in front of his wife's house while she's cheating on him with a quote N-word. And anyways, Paul Schrader tried to get Martin Scorsese to not do that role because he's like, you're going to hate your performance and you'll cut it from the film. But we would need this role to kind of show the delinquents that Travis Bickle is constantly exposed to. But it was the opposite. Martin Scorsese loved his performance in his own film and then cast himself in damn near every movie he did from then on. Paul Schrader eventually, after 40 years, 50 years in the business, decided to put himself in a film too, and that worked out swimmingly.
Only as a last resort, though.
Yes. Well, we
Only
should
after
point that out.
exhausting,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
every other actor he wanted for the part.
Yeah.
Who rightfully turned it down.
Who all walked away from this brilliant piece of cinema. Later that night, Mad Dog decides he needs to quickly hit the strip club before they dispose of the body. Keep in mind that they are driving the dead guy's Range Rover with his headless corpse in the back. Not that that ever comes up, but it seems like you wouldn't want to be making many stops.
No.
Also, they just park right in front of the strip club too.
Yeah.
Just right in front of the entrance door in what's not a parking space. So
I'd
likely get their ass towed.
I've spent a little bit of time around strip clubs, and I can tell you that the cops watch that place like a fucking hawk. So you don't want to park a stolen vehicle out front with a corpse that's already starting to stink in it. He and Diesel have a fun conversation about coping mechanisms, and then they head in to look at some titties and do some coke. Mad Dog reassures Diesel by saying the place they're dropping the body at is, like, totally close. Direct quote from the movie. It's like, totally close. He then lets Diesel know that he knows he doesn't like him, but that he really admires him, and that he always wanted to be friends with him. Aw, such a sweet moment. Then he does 2 lines of coke, and they leave the strip club that they spent 2 minutes and 32 seconds hanging out at. From the time they entered the front door to the time they leave, 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Which begs the question, what in the fuck was the point of that scene?
They wanted to get another strip club in there.
Yeah.
Has he got a quota? Like,
how much money did they have to pay to get that private room to use it for 2 minutes?
Like, they could have had this conversation in the car. Was it just too much?
Right.
Too much in the car? Because they immediately continue their conversation in the car.
Back to the car.
In the car, Mad Dog reveals that he's been trying to become a better person and that he's been praying a lot. He then lets Diesel know that he brutally murdered Sheila and her kid. He's been preying on that, though. Diesel seems like he could care less. Like, he just doesn't have a reaction whatsoever. Just like the rest of us, since who the hell knows if he even had a relationship with her and knew her in any way. Just like the rest of us. Wait, who is this woman to Diesel?
Right.
He knew her name and knew that she had a kid, but that's about it.
He's all just nonchalant about it. He's looking over at him like, sometimes you kill people, you know? Sometimes you kill a kid.
I'm acting, but I don't know what I'm trying to convey here in this scene. I feel like we were trying to set up something of him getting more and more agitated, but the whole time he's just blank-faced like a bulldog, just sitting there.
Just sitting,
Mad Dog recoils at the thought of Diesel judging him for being the horrible monster he definitely is. But Diesel just cares about getting to the place where they're supposed to dispose of this body. He doesn't seem to give a shit about anything else that Mad Dog is talking about, just like the rest of us. Mad Dog says he wants to put the Mexican guy with Sheila and the kids so he can put a period on that part of his life. You know, the period where he committed 3 murders in the last, 5 days? That period. Diesel says he'll help him get back on track since he's never lied or fucked him over and has never fucked up on a job. Except for the time he blew off the head of the guy they were trying to collect ransom from that required them to be in the car together so that they could have this poignant conversation on the way to dump his body.
Also, how many jobs have they done? Because to us, it's only 2.
Right.
He's never fucked up a job, to his knowledge, except for the job that they are on right now.
But I don't think he knows that, right? I don't think that... Troy was able to call them and tell them that the guy that they're burying is the guy that they're trying to get the money from.
Oh, true. That's true. They don't know that's
true.
Brennan or Brandon.
But he still fucked up the job by shooting a guy they didn't need to shoot.
Right. Which is now causing them to have to take a detour and go dump this body somewhere.
Go to Toledo.
But I guess to be fair to Mad Dog, had he not shot that guy, that dude probably would have started shooting them.
Yeah. He did
because he did have the pistol, and he's like, "You guys fucked up," and that's when Mad Dog just blasts him,
blows his head off.
So, anyways, I started blasting.
They reach the spot where Mad Dog leaves his victims, which is apparently a Coast Guard station that he managed to get kicked out of. Can't imagine why this guy would ever have trouble in the military. But,
I don't know either.
Mad Dog, he also says Semper Tyrannis or something like that, or Semper Fi, or he says something vaguely marine, but this is obviously a Coast Guard station, and it has the word Coast Guard written on it when they drive up to it. Mad Dog says...
I didn't catch exactly what he said, but it was a military phrase.
Yeah, so I feel like it was like the Semper Fi thing from Marines, but...
Yeah.
Mad Dog says tomorrow he'll turn a new leaf 3 seconds after doing a line of coke. Then asks Diesel if he thinks people can change while pulling this dead body out of the car. They head into the abandoned station, which contains a little Easter egg for the keen viewer. On the wall, you can read a 2-word review of this film from one of the critics that reads, "Suck ass." Just right in the entryway when they walk in. Mad Dog drops some forensics.
Well, we know Mad Dog eats ass, so maybe he wrote that.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe he wrote it.
It's his
Mad Dog
spot.
drops some forensic science on Diesel before revealing his body stash, where he says he wants Diesel to sit down with him and tell him 5 character flaws he can work on, while Diesel fights the urge to puke from the smell.
Don't be a pussy, come on.
Sitting on a pile of bodies.
Yeah.
I can think of 1 or 2 character flaws right there.
Yeah, he says like in his little forensic thing that like, oh, when it's rotting, that's when it's the least bad for you. Like you're not going to get anything from these rotting bodies. I guess that's why he thinks that Diesel is a genius. Stuff like that. Suddenly, the floor gives out, sending Mad Dog, Diesel, Sheila's cupcake-making daughter, and Brennan hurtling down at least 1 flight. They all just fall through the floor right down to that. I felt like it was like 2 stories they fell down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why Mad Dog thought that was a good spot to put Honey Boo Boo and her mom.
Yeah.
And actually, like, how impressive that he was able to carry Honey Boo Boo's mom up those stairs by himself.
That's one of my Coppola questions. Yeah, it's one of my Coppola questions.
That's a good one. Diesel's horrified, slipping in blood, and trying to get away from the rotting corpses he's suddenly surrounded by, while Mad Dog continues talking about ways he could improve his character. For some reason, all of this really upsets Diesel to the point of putting a gun up to Mad Dog's head, and then he just unceremoniously puts the gun to his chin and blows his head off, right through the little eye on his chin, which I guess was a good reason to have that eye there. Well, he said that he put it there just so that it would be weird in that first scene.
Okay.
As you do, you know, that's why you make story choices, just to make it weird. He calls Troy to let him know that Mad Dog is dead. Then it cuts to the 3 of them back at the Motel 6 partying like Michael Scott. They literally have a catch-up and mustard fight in their underwear while smiling at each other like children. Every time you think, no way this movie can throw me another unexpected curveball.
And it's a cut of Mad Dog getting shot in the head.
Yeah,
superimposed over him getting sprayed with ketchup in the platoon pose.
In the platoon pose, yeah. We should point that out. Yeah. I don't know if that was intentional, but I feel like it had to have been, right?
It had to be, yeah.
By the way, you know, like, I know he's old now, but, like, really, if you watch Platoon and you watch this movie back to back, Willem Dafoe really hasn't aged all that much. I mean, he's definitely a lot, like, you know, he's got a lot more wrinkles and stuff. But
yeah, he's one of those guys that always looked old, so
he did.
I think it just kind of helps you age as you actually get old.
That weird, like, Green Goblin grin that he's got, just, you know, he always looked bad, so, you know, it's like Steve Buscemi, like, he's always going to look the same, yeah. Troy and Diesel get back together, and he lets Diesel know that the guy they killed was, in fact, Brennan. Troy explains that he doesn't know if things will go well with the Greek and Chepe because he was the one who vouched for the insane psychopath who fucked up the whole job, who has been an insane psychopath since the first fucking moment we met him in the film. But he vouched for him, so he's pretty sure that this is my little call that the mob guys are probably going to kill them if they don't fuck up horribly in the next scene and get themselves killed. So, in the middle of this crisis that could end in their deaths at the hands of two mob bosses, hours after the death of Mad Dog, and while holding a woman and a baby hostage somewhere, Diesel decides he needs to restock the fridge, and they stop for some deli meat.
Remember, he could have been a Stanford lawyer.
Could have. By the way, he's like covered in blood from the rotting corpses that he was just crawling around in. He probably smells horrendous right now.
To his credit, his jacket looked a little messed up.
Yeah, he just blew a guy's head off at point blank range with a revolver.
Oh, God. Troy hangs in the car reading GQ magazine while Diesel shops and says a line they apparently decided to cut from the film, but you can clearly see him talking. I don't know if you noticed that. He's looking at the GQ and he mouths something, but they cut the line out of the movie.
I'm sure it was a real zinger.
Oh, Taylor Swift, huh?
I'm guessing it was because Taylor Swift is on the cover, and they mentioned Taylor Swift in the strip club scene was in black and white for no inexplicable reason. And I'm sure it was probably he said something really raunchy about her that they were scared was going to be like
get them sued.
Maybe get them sued.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift is known for suing people.
Kanye.
If you didn't know. Diesel arouses some suspicion for management when a guy spots his gun in his waistband. Probably also slightly suspicious that he's completely covered in blood from head to toe. But God damn it, he needed some bologna.
He's got the gore of at least 4 corpses on him.
Yeah. Quick fact, it's perfectly legal to carry a concealed weapon in Ohio because it's
I thought
Ohio.
That was weird. Because he says this guy's concealed carrying.
Yeah.
But it's almost like he's open carrying because it's just stuck in his waistband, which I'm pretty sure is legal in a lot of states.
They said, there's probably no way that the manager would call because that's a perfectly normal thing that you run into all the time in places like Ohio.
Maybe there's some gray area with this because he was trying to conceal it, but then at the same time, like, how do you know he doesn't have a concealed weapon permit? You can't just say that he's breaking the law.
I'm guessing a responsible gun owner that has a concealed weapons permit wouldn't have a large-ass revolver with no holster tucked into his whitey tighties.
True.
And they probably wouldn't be caked in blood and brain. And
they don't even bring up the blood though. That could be
decomposing.
He says his jacket's all messed up.
Yeah. His jacket's a little messed up, and his jacket's a little messed up.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the pieces of brain stuck to it?
Smell of decay.
The cops show up. One heads inside to deal with Diesel, and the other, tipped off by the manager, heads over to the Jaguar. Troy is still busily reading GQ magazine, and they said that that Diesel got out of that car. Like some people spotted Diesel getting out, so guess it makes sense that she goes over to Troy. Female officer asks Troy for his ID since his tabs are out of date. Which you would think you would probably want to deal with if you were a criminal who's constantly committing crimes. She tells him to step out of the car so she can search it, since they've had a bunch of shoplifting complaints, which makes sense. I guess that check and see if he has any merchandise that they stole. So he does the only logical thing and sucker punches her in the face. She goes for her gun, so he starts unloading haymakers on her before being pulled off by the other cop who came out just as he punched her in the face, which is bad timing. Just then, Diesel comes outside and shoots the female cop in the heart from 30 yards away. He bolts away at his top speed, which is about 3 miles an hour. And you watch it super just slowly jogging away. Another cop car cuts him off, and he blasts the cop since he immediately came out from behind his car to confront the guy who obviously has a gun in his hand. But Diesel says, "Surprise!" and shoots him.
Surprise, sucker!
Like he's got a gun that's like the size of my arm in his hand.
It's a long barrel gun. I don't understand.
Didn't spot that.
The cop's like, "Oh hey, you stop off my knee!
Oh
you
my
shot
God.
my fucking
I could not
knee.
have predicted this." Diesel steals the cop's car and heads towards the only other cop in the entire area instead of driving away.
Samurai, dude.
God.
Yeah.
I mean,
Samurai.
I thought, like, when he drove by him, that he was going to come and rescue Troy, like, because there was only one
run him
cop.
over.
Yeah, there was only one cop with Troy.
To be honest.
But no, he just drives by
He just
him.
drove off like an asshole.
Yeah.
Bye, Troy. See ya.
Good times.
Good luck with that. I hope they
The
don't
cop
drag your ass on
holding
the back
Troy,
of the
the cop holding Troy, shoots at him, and hits a guy getting his hair cut inside of one of the buildings.
It does like the Sniper Elite X-ray shot through the thing, and then
Yeah.
hits some guy.
and then right into Troy's heart.
It's CG heart for no reason.
Yeah.
Then we see a CGI model of Diesel's heart beating quickly for some damn reason, which I thought was the guy who got shot, but then it cuts to out of Diesel's chest and him like trying to calm himself down while he's running from two cops for some goddamn reason. He screams at himself trying to relax while running from the cops, and then just decides to kill himself right then. So why did he try and calm himself down? Maybe to go out on a calm night.
He was
I have no
psyching
idea.
himself up, I thought, maybe.
Yeah. So he crashes the car and takes himself out because of Troy's mantra of victory or death and going out like samurais, repeating in his head. And so ends the life of a man who could have been a lawyer from Stanford in another universe, who displayed no above average intelligence one single time throughout the entire film, aside from to say how much water it takes to grow an almond. Why even set that up? Why did you say this guy could have been a fucking lawyer? He was a genius.
The only thing I can think of is they want to highlight how stupid Troy and Mad Dog are for thinking this guy is super smart.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, he was the only one to voice concern about kidnapping the baby. Like, this stuff never goes well.
Yeah.
Well, Troy also was like, I don't think this is a good idea, but then he threw in another 250 and he was like, all right,
and then
fine.
he's like,
I think Mad Dog or Diesel is the one that also lampshades the fact that, like, we're really doing this last big score thing. That never goes well for anybody.
yeah. Sorry, that's what he was saying. It's like, oh, this is cliche. It never goes well.
True, yeah. Next, we see two cops who weren't in the previous scene take Troy out to some abandoned buildings, which I'm told Cleveland has a surplus of. They pull Troy out of the car, beat the shit out of him, and then strap him to the seat belt of the back passenger side, whatever, the back seat belt. And then I don't know if that's strong enough to actually like hold a guy, but he's like handcuffed and being held by that seat belt, and they close the door, and then they drag him alongside the car cowboy style, and we fade to black. Next, we see an old black couple eating at a 50s style diner. We see a news report on the TV which says that Troy and Diesel are dead. They head to the car after their delicious meal, and wouldn't you know it, a bloodied Troy appears from the shadows and pulls a gun on them.
Something I want to point out here really quick. The license plate on this old couple's car says A113A on it, which there's an Easter egg in every Pixar movie where the number...
Is it that number?
Yeah, it's hang on.
What a dumb thing.
The number
to add
is
to this
A113.
movie.
So every Pixar movie has the number A113 in it because it's the name of some art room at Caltech or something where a bunch of Pixar animators studied. And I was like, is that intentional? Like or is it just a coincidence that they show the license plate at like two shots where you see it saying A113A?
It had to have been. I'm positive that it was. He also said that they hired a bunch of students. Obviously, most of this movie was shot with film students, if you couldn't tell. And they came from a college, and it might have been, where the Pixar guys came from. Maybe it was.
Maybe they wanted to throw their own stamp on it.
It said all the signage in this movie was digital, so I'm sure that the license plate was replaced in
they
post.
had to have rendered that.
So
render it. They probably all came from that school down in Florida that turns out a lot of visual effects artists.
And they wanted to homage it to Pixar.
Pixar, yeah.
All right, here comes the most baffling moment of the whole fucking film.
When Buzz and Woody show up and save the day.
Then, for some reason, Nick Cage just does Humphrey Bogart for the rest of the film.
Credits.
For no
That's all you need to know.
fucking reason whatsoever. So Paul Schrader explained in a very similar manner to how most things have happened in this film. He said that Nick Cage just started doing that in scenes, and at first he was like, "Stop doing that! What the fuck are you doing?" You know, like a director would do.
Like a good director would do.
And then Nick Cage just kept doing it, and he was like, "All right, I'll let him have a couple takes." And then by the end of it, he was like, I started to get it. I started to like it. And I just decided, we'll just do this last scene with him doing Bogart.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Well, it kind of works. I got an idea of why it works.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a point to it, but we'll get to it. So anyways, Nick Cage is doing Bogart, and I guess Paul Schrader just got tired of telling him not to do it, and they only had between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. to shoot this entire last sequence of the movie because Nick Cage was done and he was flying out at 7 a.m. So they only had one shot. They could only shoot it as Bogart or they could shoot it normal, and they decided on the day that he would just do it as Bogart. And Even Paul Schrader was like, I don't know if it's the right choice for the film, but we just did it. He then asks the old black guy if he has a pistol. A guy like you would have a big revolver, see? Which
a minister
he does.
like you would keep a gun in the car.
The minister has just a giant gun under his front seat. Troy takes the gun and then hops in the back. They head down the road while Troy smokes a cigarette and continues to talk like Bogart. Meanwhile, Reverend Charles Wilson and his wife Charlene Wilson beg him to let them go and then recognize him from the TV. You know, the report that said he was dead just 2 seconds ago. Troy explains that it wasn't like they said, see? And asks the Reverend if he's ever been to prison. And he says he has. So this prison has, this Reverend has a checkered past, I guess. Then he goes on a rant straight out of a 30s gangster movie about just wanting justice, and that the officer he punched in the face panicked and thought he was resisting. That's right, resisting. And Diesel just wanted to save him, which he didn't. He didn't even come close to saving him. Didn't even try to come near him.
Bitched out. Yeah.
Just left. He tells the Reverend he can tell he's a good man and that he's going to make it out of this. He just needs to get dropped off, and the only person who's going to go down for this is him. I mean, yeah, it's like straight out of like an Edward G. Robinson movie. Troy weirdly shakes his hand to give him his word from the back seat, and then the Reverend just immediately pulls over the car, and Troy takes over driving, and somehow drives directly into a cloud. I don't know if you noticed that, but everything is just complete fog now.
They transitioned into the mist.
They did.
Color out of space.
Yeah. Charles says Troy looks and sounds like Bogart from the back seat. Neither of those things are true. Troy then puts on a gospel tape and sees the flashing lights of a cop car that makes the cloud world the color out of space. Troy gets out of the car, the cops pull their guns, and suddenly another cop car shows up out of nowhere. They recognize him, and suddenly Troy is covered in blood again. He pulls his gun, and the cops start blasting the innocent black people in the car, while Troy stands 10 feet away. Easily the most realistic scene in the entire movie. The cops slaughter these two innocent people who are fucking standing nowhere near
He's not even in the car.
Nick Cage. He's nowhere near them. And then they finally shoot him, and I don't even know if like they technically kill him because they pick him up and put him in the back of the cop car after that. So it's like he just shot him, and then yeah. In the monologue, we hear Troy finally sounding like a normal person again, where he says, "Justice, that's what I wanted." Then I started thinking, I didn't want justice. I just wanted what I wanted, just like everyone, and the rest of it was verbiage. The end. What in the fuck did the, I mean, I got a feeling I know what you're going to say, but it was confirmed by the director that the entire last epilogue of the movie was all in Troy's head, that he is dead. He was killed by the cops being drugged down the road.
That was my takeaway. Because the shot of him throwing him into the back is them picking up his dragged dead body. It's the same two cops in the same car, and they're tossing him into the back of it. Which is why it got all surreal and weird. It was just his delirium as they drug him to death.
And that's why he talked like Bogart the whole time, because he wanted to be...
That's why there's like a 50s diner, and he picks up this, carjacks this old couple dressed like they're in the 50s, and they're in their 1960s car with cassette tapes and stuff. He's just... and then the super saturated color over the fog and everything. It's just him... His last...
And then the cop car that just shows up out of nowhere next to him, and then everything starts to get warped and blurry, and then he suddenly has the blood all over him again.
Blaze of glory, and the cops were shooting innocent people because they're bastards, and
But like I said, he didn't actually die in the book at all. This was all something that Paul Schrader decided to do. He didn't die in the screenplay either. They just cut the entire third act and just put this piece of shit in this place. Whatever the fuck this is.
Wow. What the fuck? Okay then.
Well, they ran out of time because Nick Cage was leaving. So.
They did, And I think they ran out of budget and a lot of things. But he said that he shot everything he wanted to shoot. They just, because they had such a short window, they had to trim some things ahead of time, and they decided to trim the fact that he lived and have him killed, and they're killed in this really weird way with this like surreal ghost fucking, I have no idea what the hell that last part was. If I'm being honest, I'm not a big fan of streaming. I mean, like, if you don't know what you want to watch, I guess it's great, but every time I search for something specific, it's nowhere to be found. It seems like there's a new service launching every week, and they're all fighting for the same content. So, like, how many do they expect us to pay for? I miss the good old days when you could pop into a video store, buy a movie you love, and own it forever. Thankfully, I stumbled upon Loved Again Media, who offer a bargain bin where you can snag gently used titles for $4 on DVD, and Blu-rays and TV shows for $5 with free shipping on orders over $15. Now I can be surrounded by my glorious collection of films starring the greatest actor who ever lived without going broke. Anytime I want to watch a certain movie, I grab it off the shelf and I bask in the glory of the one and only Nicolas Cage. Believe it or not, they don't only sell Nicolas Cage movies. I mean, I've personally bought hundreds of films and TV shows, including hard-to-find and out-of-print movies. Plus, they're constantly adding new movies, so every few weeks you can come back to add to your collection. Might have a problem. Head over to lovedagainmedia.com now and get an extra 15% off by entering the coupon code ONECAGE at checkout to start building your Nicolas Cage collection today. Look what I brought you, Nicholas. It might be your best movie yet.
We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
All right, that leads us to a Coppola questions, which we have a bunch. I know I do. I'm sure you guys do too. My first question goes back to the very first scene, very first shot of the whole damn movie. What in the fuck was with the eyeballs on Willem Dafoe? Why did he have eyeballs all over him? What did that have to do with anything?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Honestly, I forgot about it because again, I forgot that whole scene. Because the whole scene has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, aside from him killing Sheila. But like all the other weirdness and shit that's going on in that.
But even then, what's the point of him killing her?
Right. Well, because he wanted to feel bad about something. I guess because he had to confess to Diesel that he was trying to be a changed man after he killed her. But like it.
I'll tell you what Paul Schrader said about the eyeballs. He said that Willem Dafoe just decided that he would put those eyeballs on him. And then Paul Schrader made the choice to put the eyeball under his chin so that it would be weird as fuck in that first scene with the TVs showing up around him and him just leaning back, like getting coke out of his nose or whatever.
What the fuck?
You know, to signal that this is an hilarious comedy.
It's a comedy.
God.
How did he get away with killing Sheila and the kid? Like, everybody would have known who he was. I'm sure all the neighbors knew who he was, because who wouldn't know who this guy is?
He used the Chevron card. Like, he used her Chevron card to repair his car. So there's an automatic link to him and her.
Yeah.
That's on paper. There's a paper trail.
Yeah, and he sticks out like a sore thumb.
Foreseeably had stayed there tons. Yeah. And he's a fucking character straight out of, like, I mean, the dude is just zany, like a cartoon character. So you would think that the neighbors would all recognize him. Yeah. But apparently he just got off scot-free. I mean, it's only been a week or so since that happened, but at the same time, I don't think it would be that tough for some detectives to put two and two together. How come Mad Dog and Diesel got cool nicknames, but the main character gets stuck with Troy?
It's all because he's the straight man in this whole thing, so maybe they just gave him a straight man name. Like, it's kind of weird to say that he's a straight man, but he's the least weird out of any of them.
Yeah, true. He's the most
so
normal.
Maybe that's why. But yeah, that's
Troy. Diesel, Mad Dog, Troy. What the fuck was that guy's name anyway? Was it Moon Man? Was it Guard? Was it Balloon Head?
Rick Ross.
Rick Ross.
Okay, it was Rick Ross, dude.
Rick Ross.
It was Rick Ross.
Outside of what we know, Paul Schrader's rationale for it was, what was the movie rationale and Troy's rationale for shooting the mom?
Yeah.
Why?
It doesn't make any sense.
He didn't have time for this shit.
Especially because he goes to the trouble of like he doesn't just shoot her when she walks through the door. He stops her and like kind of holds her at gunpoint like he was going to kidnap her to go along with it. And then he just cuts to outside and he shoots her. So it
was apparently all Nick Cage's idea to shoot her because Paul Schrader was like, I don't know what to do with this woman in the next scene. Are we going to take her to the house where the babysitter and the baby are at?
He's like, if we don't shoot her, I'm going to sexually assault her in a scene. So you pick.
She's like, wait, he's going to kiss me randomly? Nah, just kill me off now.
No, thank you. I think she might have also been like a day player who they didn't have for another day or something. She only had one day on set.
You could just not even have her in the movie. They kidnap the nanny and leave.
No point of her showing up.
They could have just cut that whole scene out.
Why did they dispose of the headless guy's body but not her body?
Right.
we kind of asked this question when it happened, but I mean, outside of the Paul Schrader explanation in the movie, why not dispose of her body? What's the point of disposing of one and not disposing of the other?
I don't know. The only thing I could think of is maybe in his mind, he's thinking, well, they're going to find out that she's dead, and then it's going to spook Brandon or whatever the fuck his name was supposed to be, and that'll make him pay faster. Like he's like, oh, well, if they killed her, then they'll definitely kill this baby.
But then at that point, just leave the dead. But then just leave the dead guard there too. Like, at that, by that logic, like, we killed your muscle and this woman, don't come after us. Just give us the money.
Yeah.
True. I didn't say it was the most logical thing because this movie's not logical in any sense, but
we're not going to be able to make sense of it because clearly it wasn't in the script and they just did it and it made more problems than than answers.
Which is the same with my next question is, in the movie logic, why the hell did they stop for groceries in the middle of all of this stuff, covered in blood? I mean, like, I get it from a storytelling standpoint. You had to finish it. You had to finish this story, and they wanted to wrap it up quickly, I guess. So they went to the grocery store so cops would come and all that stuff. But like, why?
Where can we shoot this? The grocery store. All right, we'll write a scene around.
Which is the same scene as earlier, same location as earlier when he's talking to Greco on the phone and then he slaps the car hood and all that stuff.
Yeah,
that's the exact same thing. They just redressed in post with different signage and stuff, but it's the exact same place. You can tell.
Yeah.
I don't like. Why not just have them get pulled over since he has expired tabs?
Yes,
you could. It would be a more logical explanation to trigger those events that then proceeded.
Right. Yep.
Oh man, it's always so funny when we write a better movie than the movie we watch.
But then the question would be again, like, why does he have expired tabs? Because it was just in the movie to get them pulled over. Because you'd think, But again, these guys are awful. They're terrible.
They're
terrible at this job.
They're terrible at what they're doing. They have 2 jobs and they fucked both up.
But celebrated like crazy when they almost sort of pulled off the first job. Ketchup and mustard.
They celebrated in their shitty Motel 6 and then went to a casino.
Yeah, then went to the casino.
Which seemed out of it. Like celebrated the casino.
Let's meet up tomorrow in the food court so I know you're not dead.
Well, what was it with that scene? Like that camera angle, looking at them originally having the conversation, that old lady with her oxygen mask.
Yeah.
Like, what was up with that?
I thought
so random.
The point of it was to show, like, God, look at these fucking losers. Like, I thought that was the point of it. It was like
they're hanging out at a casino lobby
in Cleveland
in the middle of the afternoon. Instead of doing anything useful or fun.
After they all
some
struck
lady
out.
at death's door. Yeah.
This is all they know how to do. This is their lives.
True.
I had some. We addressed a couple of them naturally. I honestly didn't write a lot because I just was like, wow, I'm so burned out by this movie. And I mean, honestly, if I started writing questions, I just wouldn't stop writing questions because there's so many things this movie does. But my 2 main ones was, they mentioned that they did jobs before. Like, how many jobs did they actually do together? Because it seems like, well, I guess Mad Dog and Diesel had been doing jobs while Troy was in prison. But how the fuck were they been successful at any of their jobs?
There's no way.
When Troy, the smartest one among them, hasn't been helping them. So you'd think they would have fucked up way more jobs that they worked on.
Yeah. And, you look at, so in the book, apparently they're all in their 30s. But in the movie, Willem Dafoe and Nick Cage are both in their 50s. And Diesel is in his 30s. So if you extrapolate back, if Troy served his entire 15-year sentence, that means Diesel was between the ages of 15 and 25 when they did the first jobs together before they went to prison. But they also served at different times. So I don't think they ever did a job together before.
I got the impression they met in prison. Was that not right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, So how would they have time to do any jobs together? Because Troy's been in prison for 15 years.
I didn't even think about that, but that's,
Maybe they did jobs on the inside, Score an extra packet of ketchup.
Stabbing Nazis and stuff.
Stabbing Nazis.
Stealing ketchup and mustard from the mess hall.
That's where they, oh my God, that's
their thing.
That's how they came up with that party idea.
And my other one was just, how did 130-pound Mad Dog single-handedly dispose of the corpse of a 300-pound woman and her chubby teenage daughter when he needed Diesel to help lift this headless guy and carry him up? It's not just like drop him off. Like, he goes inside the building and then up 2 flights of stairs to drop him off in this room up above.
There's a clear answer. PCP.
That could be true, yeah.
But after they went out of the way to show how he's like tiny compared to this woman, so much so that he can jump on her back and stab her to death while she holds him up before she collapses. And we're supposed to believe that he single-handedly wrapped her and her daughter up and drove them out to this place to dump the bodies.
Which, by the way, that was actually the woman who played Sheila. and not a stunt double or anything like that. She agreed to be thrown into that table by Willem Dafoe. So
Really?
took one for the team for this amazing film.
Dang. I had two questions that I just couldn't. As I was trying to go to sleep last night, I couldn't rationalize. Were they not afraid about leaving fingerprints all over the fucking place when they break into that dude's house to steal the baby? Like, these are all convicted criminals.
Right.
No
Yep.
gloves.
They're
They're
all in the
touching
system.
everything. You see Nick Cage grab the goddamn door handle and close the front door behind him. Like, it doesn't take a rocket
no
science to
masks
dust
or anything
print.
either.
Yeah, no mask,
Yeah.
nothing.
Also,
So-
when they break in, the door just like squeaks open. It's like the loudest kitchen
Yeah.
door, and then they just like comically walk in a line, like
they stack in like the Three Stooges, bro.
trying to rob a place.
I couldn't think like.
And yeah, they
Just-
even
I
say
guess once
like
again-
this chick because they talk
Yeah.
about they got to kill the nanny because she can identify all
Yeah.
of them. Like,
Wear some
just
fucking
wear some
masks.
masks.
Yeah, that and gloves, like they're not. Just once again, I guess to your point, Patrick, like they continue to prove how dumb they are as criminals. And then the second one goes back to that scene with Diesel driving the cop car, and like they make the point of showing his heart beating really fast. Like, was he having a heart attack? Like, was that what we're supposed to take away from it? Like, he was starting to have a heart attack, and that's what
might
caused
be.
him to crash. I mean, he
I
was
thought
pretty,
he was just trying to
pretty
show he
winded.
was hopped up on something, and
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he was pretty winded from running that like 20 feet.
he ran around the corner of the building.
Though he's the one character we don't really see doing drugs. I mean, I guess you don't really see Troy. He drinks a few times, but you know, he doesn't. He's never doing drugs, never doing coke or heroin or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know, man.
I just
had
didn't
no
understand
idea.
the whole point of them showing his heart beating like that, and then like just kind of random
It
weird
was
shots on
neat.
his face and sweating.
Yeah, maybe that was. I mean, maybe that was the intention. Paul Schrader never mentioned it in the commentary, so
We'll never know.
I'm just blown away by that whole shot of the gun, bullet's eye view going through a wall, hitting some guy in a barber chair,
yeah.
and then shooting to the shot of a heart, and then zooming back out to Diesel crashing the
Yeah.
car. Like, what the fuck what is going on?
That
What
was
was the point of
apparently one of the film students' ideas. Of, like
100%.
Jesus
that little
Christ.
shot going through the wall.
Yeah.
They
And Paul
love
Schrader was
the
just
Crank
like,
series.
sure, do it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like,
it sounds cool. Why are we doing it? Oh, there's no reason.
no
Put it
point.
in my
Yeah,
movie. I
Put
don't
it in
care.
there. Put it in the movie.
I made Taxi Driver. I can do whatever I want.
Who the fuck oversaw the script?
Paul Schrader. Paul Schrader had a final cut on this film. For those who don't know, it means that he was given the all clear that no matter what he delivered to the studio, that's the movie that they were going to go with. Studio could not contractually touch his film at that point. So this is exactly the film that Paul Schrader wanted to make.
Well, mission
I mean,
accomplished
again,
on his
it's only
part.
$2 million budget. That makes sense. That the
true,
studio is
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
they're not throwing a whole lot of money at it. Just give us something. We don't care what it is.
And he got Nick Cage and Willem Dafoe to be in a movie, and he is, he's got a good track record. So
He's
I'm
got a
sure they
name.
were like, this movie will probably at least make back.
How bad could it be? That's probably what they're thinking. I mean, seriously, really, you're giving the guy who wrote Taxi Driver and a bunch of other movies $2 million, which is nothing for
Yeah.
making a movie. He's got to have Nicolas Cage and Willem Dafoe be in it. How bad could it be? It's guaranteed
How bad
return on
could it
your
be?
investment.
Well, we answered that question of how bad it could be.
It's time to keep track. Here are the final stats.
Does Nigel, you want to hit us with the curse tracker?
Yeah, so this one's kind of on the lower end of things. I think mainly
Surprising.
just because, I think it's mainly just because Nick Cage is just playing a guy. Like he's not.
He's a straight man
He's not
through
an
the whole thing,
eccentric
yeah.
character. He's just he could have had anybody playing this character, and even with him playing it, he's just reading lines half the time. It seems like he's not really. Anyway,
You know who would have been a
So-
good choice? John Cusack. He would have been a good choice for this.
yeah. All right, so we had 7 uses of shit. 1 asshole, which was the asshole cop that caught weed in his car or planted drugs in his car, whatever it was. 2 uses of God in a curse context. and 15 fucks.
It's always a lot of fucks. That's the
Yeah,
go-to,
that's
man.
the most. There's definitely the most. So out of that's total 25 total curses in this movie. Grand total is now 224. Of those 224, 121 of those are fuck. So
Nice.
over half of his curses are fucks.
Yeah.
So yeah. Again, it's like 25 total. That puts it
224, right?
224 total, 25 for this movie. That puts it above Grand Isle, which had 20, and Wicker Man at 14. But other than that, every other movie has had more swearing, except for Bringing Out the Dead, which just had the 2 fucks in it.
Yeah.
So, rather subdued.
On the nudity side of things, I had a hard time with this because every time you see a stripper, they're wearing pasties. So I didn't count it. So every piece of nudity that I'm about to say was all except for one of them in that one shot of her laptop with all of the nudity on it that Willem Dafoe was looking at. Every other shot is pasty. Like I looked at all of the different strippers in the background, being like, "Oh, there's got to be one where they don't have pasties." But I'm wondering if maybe that's like Ohio law. Like they can't show full, breasts, or they can't show full nudity. I know a lot of states don't have bottom.
The actresses more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe.
Let's see, Ohio stripper laws. I'll look it up while you keep talking.
Okay. So we had 10 breasts, 1 female ass, which was actually the ass of the woman in the DA's house, which I waffled on whether I should count it, but I could see the second cheek, so I was like,
yeah,
I'll count
side
that.
boob and a cheek.
Our first vagina in the entire film, or the entire run so far, and it was on the laptop. And the only reason I counted is because you could see everything, but it didn't show, this stuff. It didn't show that stuff, but it was full frontal, so I count it. So that is a grand total so far of 19 breasts, 2 female asses, 2 male asses, 1 vagina, and 1 Nicolas Cage boner tent from Vampire Kiss.
I love it.
Jumping over to the state/country tracker, we're still 100% in the United States. This entire film is set in Ohio and filmed in Ohio, surprisingly. So that brings us up to 7 total states after California, New York, Washington, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Illinois, and Ohio. For our budget and gross tracker, this movie was a $2 million budget, made $219,000. So now grand total, we have $119 million that has been given to Nick Cage films and a gross return of $77 million.
Damn.
Some of our films that are coming up, some of the more blockbuster-y movies I think are really going to skew this, because I was looking at like Gone in 60 Seconds and Ghost Rider and National Treasure. Those movies are really going to skew this. So make a bunch of shitty movies, make one money maker, and you're all good. You're all good. Over on the rating side of things, we added another unrated movie. Unsurprisingly, this movie was not rated. So that brings us up to 4 R-rated movies, 1 PG-13, and 3 unrated.
That's crazy.
Vince, do you want to hit us with the kill tracker?
This movie brings us to 8 kills. So we're finally back up for 8 for 8. And then...
So he only killed one, just the mom, that was it?
Yeah, he only killed the wife.
Oh, wow.
Mom, baby mama. Yeah, I was racking my brain, went back and watched all the action, like the violent scenes. Yeah, she's the only person that he ended up killing. Everybody else was either killed by Mad Dog or Diesel. So yeah, that brings him up to 8 for 8. And then Death Tracker, we broke our streak of no deaths. So now, out of the 8 films we've watched, 6 of them have included his unfortunate demise. So we're 6 for 8 now.
My brother suggested doing a resurrection tracker of some sort, which we've done 2 films where he has been resurrected. With Color Out of Space, he just comes back to life as whatever the creature is that is inhabiting the farm, and then this one where he he's dragged to death by the car, and then he comes back to life.
Yeah.
In this fantasy that he says. I don't know if you guys want to add that or not, but I know that it's going to come
Sure.
up again, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah, we can do
Ghost
that.
Rider and a couple other films. So
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do.
Yeah.
I'll cover that too. I'll keep track of the resurrection.
okay.
To say if they do Face Off too. Doesn't he die in Face Off?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how spoiler alert, how they explain that.
Yeah. Who the fuck
Well, we
knows,
took
man?
his face off his
Put it
dead
on a
body.
corpse.
Yeah,
put
we
it on
took
someone
it
else. That's
That's
probably what they're going to
definitely
do.
what they're gonna do.
Superman's face,
Yeah.
because Henry Cavill will most likely him or Pedro. What is his name? Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. Those are
One
the
of them
go-tos
is
They're
right
going to be
now.
it?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like they seem to be getting cast in everything.
Yeah. Do you see that Cavill just got cast in the Highlander reboot?
I did. I saw that. Yeah, that's how. Yeah, I'm saying, dude, these two dudes are getting cast in everything.
Well, this was a real pile of shit. Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
Vince, where does this brilliant film, Dog Eat Dog, rate on your Cageometer, both movie and Nicolas Cage's performance?
Okay, before I say this, I didn't hate this movie. I thought it was a fun, dumb movie. It's not great, not even good, but I didn't hate it. Like I told you guys earlier, like it went by fast. I wasn't sitting there watching the timer on it, waiting for it to end. It was just so crazy. But I mean, if like being honest about the story and all that stuff, like I gotta give it a 4. It was just all over the place. It just didn't make any sense. So if you're talking about like story alone, it deserves a 4. I don't know what he was thinking, and now knowing that they just started making shit up towards the end of the movie and like ditching the original screenplay for shit that just didn't make sense, he gets a 4. I'm sorry, man. Like you're better than that as a director. You should know that the word on the page is God's word.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really did enjoy it. Like I thought it was a fun, stupid movie, and it was not funny intentionally to me. It was funny because it was just, there were some moments that were just so awful. Like, I'm sorry, but I did laugh when he was on Sheila's back stabbing the fuck out of her. And when she turned around and she's like, ah, and the blood just squirts out of her throat, I fucking laughed. Not the best time, not like I said before, not the best time to be eating dinner. Let me tell you that first, 10, 15 minutes, because it's just, you sensory overload with everything. But I thought, there were like funny fucking moments in the movie that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed Willem Dafoe's performance in this. I think that's probably skews my opinion of enjoyment, because I thought he did a really good job, especially when him and Diesel are having those scenes together. I was just so fixated on his performance, and like he was captivating.
Sorry. Those are the moments I hated the most.
Really? I loved it, dude. I loved it. It was so captivating to me. Just like, he was so in that character. It was like, and just like his mannerisms and stuff like that. Like, having unfortunately known some people who have had that type of drug addiction and seen them in that state, it was like fucking spot on. But
I'm
then,
pretty
he
sure
has,
that
like, this
Willem Dafoe
weird-
probably has firsthand knowledge of
probably
what that looks like and feels like.
I mean, he snorted that coke pretty professionally, like. but I mean, like, he even found, like, for me, he found a way to bring some sincerity and gain some empathy from his performance, especially when he's talking about wanting to change and all this stuff, right? But it was just so chaotic. I mean, we all know it's not a great movie, so it gets a 4. As far as Cage, I'll give him a 6. I mean, I felt like, yeah, I'll give him a 6, because
wow.
once again, he just starts like kind of doing his thing, and at times it makes the movie a little more enjoyable for me. But overall, like, what the fuck? Why would you do this movie? Because you obviously weren't invested in it. You fucking mailed it in more than any other. I thought Grand Isle, he mailed that performance in.
I watched a little thing. It was like an introduction for this film that was supposed to be played before a film festival, and he said this is exactly the kind of film he wants to be doing at this point in his career. Those were his exact words.
Wow.
Really?
So
Because
why
he
didn't you
walked
give a
away
shit
from
about
day
it?
one. Yeah, he walked away from day one. I just felt like he was just there.
He did give Willem Dafoe $100,000 to be in the
Right.
movie.
That's probably
True.
so you could hang out with him for
Yeah,
a month.
probably. Just wanted to be around Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to be around Willem Dafoe, though? I mean,
$100,000 not that much money for him. I mean, I'd pay
Yeah.
a couple $100 to hang out with you guys for a month, so it doesn't seem that that outlandish.
Yeah.
True.
I mean,
But
think
I feel
about how
like
much
despite-
money he spent on that dinosaur skull.
or
This was a
comics.
drop in the bucket.
Right.
The
anything
50
else that
fucking
he's done.
houses that he owns.
Or those dreadlocks.
And it wasn't really like he gave the money. He just gave up $100,000 of money he was getting from this movie
Right.
to do it. So
Yeah.
he just took a cut and pay.
Right.
But apparently
we're-
they didn't even want to give him what he got there. They
Right.
had to fight him for it.
He literally had to leave the state to make a statement to them. But I mean, on top of that, like more of why I give him a higher rating is because without him carrying this movie along, it would have fucking gone nowhere. I mean, like his character unfortunately was the catalyst to make everything start moving. Otherwise, I mean, if it were left up to the other two characters, it would have just been fucking chaos. But like the way that even like his straight playing of shit, it just, he still kept shit moving, and he didn't get too crazy at points, which would have really hindered the movie even more than this movie hinders itself.
All right, Nigel, where does Dog Eat Dog rate on your Cageometer?
So I'm going to echo a lot of what Vince said. I think one of these next times I want to go first, so it doesn't sound like I'm just copying what he says about this stuff.
I just kind of like kept it the same order the whole way through, just because they're written that way. So
I just want people to know I'm not copying what he says, but I feel like because he said it, a lot of it is it's a mess. It is not an interesting movie.
Sorry to interrupt, but like I have struggled every single damn time with this because I go last and I'm like, fuck, what do I say after they say it? They said everything already. So like the last couple times I actually wrote it out.
Yeah, that's smart. I should do that.
Not this time though.
But I mean, I'm sure there'll be other times like Weatherman where I say a bunch of shit and you guys don't agree with it, so you have your own stuff to talk about. So we don't just cover the same stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm figuring out my rating scale here. The lowest I'll give a movie is 1 out of 10 because a 0 out of 10 would have to not be a movie. It would have to just be I don't know what. It doesn't rank there. I think like a movie like Birdemic is a 1 out of 10. It just fails on every front while attempting to be a movie. And I would give this movie a 2 out of 10 because I feel like it doesn't fail on every account, but it pretty much fails on most of them. If it wasn't for the performance of Willem Dafoe, who by himself ranks it up to a 3 out of 10, which is my final score of it. It's a terrible movie. His scenes are watchable. He's captivating in a lot of them. He just plays a psychotic drug user really well. I'm glad that they gave the part to him instead of Nicolas Cage because I think he did a better job with this character than Nicolas Cage would have done. Maybe it's just because we've seen Nicolas Cage be a psycho so many times. I think Willem Dafoe brings a different level of psycho to this character that really made the movie. But yeah, other than that, I mean, and even then, I didn't like everything he did. Like I said, like breaking down and talking to the Mad Dog or Diesel was just so boring and insincere to me. It just was like, okay, we get it. He's crying, but I guess it also kind of matches that addict personality where you have moments of lucidity and you reflect on things, but you're still just so broken you can't pull yourself out of it. In
Willem Dafoe's defense, he actually, because of Nick Cage walking off set, had prepared to do that whole scene at the end of shooting. So he had been given 10 pages of dialogue for that whole sequence and had to do it on the first day while not being fully ready to do it.
Right.
So if you think of it that way, he crushed it.
Yeah, which he's a seasoned actor, so it's good that he's professional, despite what was probably not a professional shooting environment for this movie.
No,
He still
not at all.
managed to bring it to that level. So yeah, he made this movie. You know, I guess he's almost like the main character, if you can call him that. Even though Troy's the narrator, and we sort of see everything through his eyes. He sort of takes a backseat to Mad Dog as the eccentric character that everybody sort of orbits around him in it. So I don't really think this movie had a main leading man, but he's the closest thing to it.
Yeah.
As for Nicolas Cage himself, this was terrible performance by him. I really just felt like you literally could have swapped him with anybody, and it would have been the exact same movie, if not maybe better. So I'm giving him a 2 out of 10 for it. It really just felt like he was just reading lines and just shitting his way through. Especially now hearing things like he wanted to do the Humphrey Bogart for no reason. It's like, he can do that in certain movies and it works. You know, he can throw his own spin on things. I just don't think it worked in this movie. It was just, especially since he insisted on it, and it's almost like he strong-armed it at the end because he knew it was his last day and they could only do one take, so he wanted to throw that Humphrey Bogart thing in there, and it ruins that ending even more. Yeah, it makes the ending just even less coherent. So when he's not doing that, and then when he's not doing that, he's just sort of reading his lines by rote. He's not really, you don't really get any moments of freaking out. He doesn't really feel that sincere to him. Like, he's just along for the ride. And then apparently sexually assaulting actresses against their wishes because it's cool, because he thought the character would do that, I guess.
That'll be something.
Improv. Right. That part, I kind of glad I picked up on those vibes because it felt super uncomfortable to me.
Yeah.
I was like, this does not seem scripted. The reaction does not seem genuinely fake, I guess I should say. This is pretty low on the ladder. And I'm sure we're going to run into a lot of movies like this, because if that's the kind of shit he wants to do now in his phase of his career, we're probably going to be seeing a lot of it.
I would
blame him
guarantee
too
it.
much for it. It's an easy paycheck, you know, just because I think a lot of especially people he's worked with in the past are probably totally fine with him just reading lines and being Nicolas Cage on set. But
I mean, just putting his name on the poster guarantees a certain amount of interest. I mean, obviously, we're doing an entire show about his entire career.
And it's almost like, you know, he just didn't have to try for this one, so he didn't. So, and it really shows that he didn't really try. It just sort of, you know.
You compare his performance in The Weatherman versus this movie, and it's just... It's like two different people.
I gave him a 9 out of 10 on Weatherman because he could totally dissolving into that role and giving it his all. You know,
that's back when he cared.
Right. This is literally just like they got him to read lines. It's like he was just doing a table read, but even worse. For a lot of this stuff. Like,
I think most of the movie was like one take, done, move on.
It definitely feels that way. Yeah.
Which, I mean, if they shot it in 23 days, that makes a lot of sense. You don't have...
For sure.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of sets. I mean, there was a lot of moving around, so it couldn't have been easy to set all of that up in the amount of time that they had. So I think, it was probably like one take. Good enough. All right. Moving on. Let's cash some paychecks. On my Cageometer, I gave this movie a 3 as well. It's just an incoherent mess. I mean, from start to finish, like, I know Paul Schrader defends his choices as, like, I wanted to keep people on edge, but it was like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you...
Compare it to something like David Lynch, who keeps people on edge, but also has that quality of, like, it's surreal, but it's engaging, you know?
Yeah.
This feels like it's surreal, but if you try to engage with it, you don't get any payoff, and it just makes even less sense. And it's like, why bother? It feels insulting.
I feel like it was like Paul Schrader, just like he was hanging out with these kids who were film school students, and they had ideas, and he was like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. And he just threw them all into the movie. It didn't seem like he gave a fuck about the story through the entire thing. Like, the story was the least important part of this whole film to him. Which, you know, he said that this was a serious book and a serious screenplay that he decided when they started shooting was going to be a comedy. Like, it's just decision after decision that I'm just, like, baffled by. Like,
Yeah.
And, you know, yes, it does keep me on edge, but for all the wrong reasons. It doesn't keep me engaged. It just keeps me going, what the fuck was that about? What the hell did that have to do with anything? What the hell did this have to... Why did he kill the mom? Why did he kill Sheila in the first scene? Like, all she was doing was asking him to leave, and he just slaughters this woman that he apparently loves, that knows how to push his buttons, so of course he kills her. And then he shoots a little kid in the head, like, 2 seconds later, and we're supposed to be like, this is a funny movie.
To be funny? Yeah, why is this scene in black and white? Why?
And it's just stuff like,
why are they partying in their underwear in a Hotel 6, like, or Motel 6 room? Like, why is anything?
Why is the mustard and ketchup fight going on? Why did they shoot the black people at the end? Like, he said he wasn't trying to make a statement, but like the cops are nowhere.
Right.
Yeah, you have your cops shooting them for no reason. Like,
and then the slow pan into the window of them dead. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? So, like, I give it a 3 just because, like, Willem Dafoe, it was Willem Dafoe. I mean, and I don't feel like Willem Dafoe was given much time to prep for this role. I feel like he was just kind of thrown into it, and he did a great job for what he had. But, like, at moments, I agree with Nigel. Like, what in the hell is the point of this monologue? And why did they stop at that strip club for a minute and a half? Like, there's so many things that are just like, what in the fuck is the point? What was the point of this film? What are you trying to tell me? Aside from, hey, look, I can make cool film things. Like, that's the only point I can take from this. Is like, look at these losers. And look at all these cool shots I made. That's about it. That's all I'm getting
all these
from
cool
this.
shots I had film students make that were working with me.
I wanted to work with Nick Cage. I wanted to work with Willem Dafoe. And these film students came up with some ideas that I couldn't make as a 70-year-old man. So here we go. This counts as a movie. And I really feel like the whole movie was honestly just a paycheck for everybody involved. I think the film students probably got a lot out of it. And the guy who shot it had never shot anything in his life. The guys who made the music had never made a film score. Like, so this created some IMDb pages for a lot of people who wouldn't have gotten a chance to make one.
It's a portfolio piece for a lot of people.
So, I guess it succeeded in that, but I think maybe Willem Dafoe was taking it seriously, but I feel like everybody else was phoning in their performance, including Paul Schrader. Like, 100%.
He couldn't phone it in because he can't act to begin with. But I feel like
he was phoning in his directorial.
I didn't mean his acting. I meant his directing.
Touche.
Because his acting.
At times I.
Holy shit.
At times I found myself wondering, did he do a lot of drugs and then ask himself, how can I take this movie and turn it into a crazier version of The Big Lebowski? Because there are times where I kind of got that vibe where he was like trying to like pull off some of the stuff that the Coen brothers are really good at, and then also like you guys have said, like pull off some of the stuff Scorsese's good at.
He seemed to jump into that Oliver Stone Scorsese route, and a little bit of the Coen brothers, where the Coen brothers are masters at like weaving different things together that seemingly don't have anything to do with each other, but in the end they do or don't, but actually are enjoyable to watch. You know, that's the first step you should probably try and get, is like, make this enjoyable to anybody aside from yourself.
Right.
Which, can he really enjoy this movie that much? That's the real question.
Like the article that Nigel sent us, he said he's made a lot of important films in his life, but Dog Eat Dog is not one of them. And I couldn't agree more. I could go on and on and on and on about this movie, but we have to move on. Nick Cage's performance, I thought, was exactly what Nigel said. He was just there. I mean, I got to give him a little more credit. I gave him a 3 instead of a 2. Just because there were moments where I was like, yeah, that's Nick Cage. This is fun. All right. You know, he drew me back in with the take your tits off and smacking that car, and like the Bogart thing was like just so out of fucking left field and didn't make any goddamn sense at all. And hearing the fact that it was his choice and he strong-armed Paul Schrader into making him leave that weird, incoherent mess into the film. As much as I enjoyed him going off and doing stupid shit, for the last 15 minutes of the movie, it didn't make any sense and it didn't add anything to the story. It didn't do anything for me whatsoever. That entire ending could have been cut and we just see Nick Cage die and be dragged by the car and we end the movie there, and I would have been like, well, okay, at least they didn't do a Humphrey Bogart impression for 15 minutes for no fucking reason. So I'm giving him a 3. So the tally on this is a little over 3. So 2 3s and a 4 for the movie. And Vince really skewed it here. So we got a 2, a 3, and a 6.
I just feel like yes, it wasn't the greatest, but how much of that is really his fault? I mean, I agree 100%.
Honestly,
I feel like he could have tried, at least tried.
I feel like a lot of it was his fault.
Okay. You know what?
But it's your rating, so you don't have to.
We're gonna have a first on here. I'm gonna give him a 5.5. You guys talk me into it.
You keep it at a 6.
That's fine.
Yeah. I'm not trying to get you to change your rating. I get it, but at the same time, I feel like the whole ending was his fault.
I agree 100% on that part.
Killing the mom, which didn't make any sense, was his fault. Willem Dafoe's weird emotional monologue that he had one day to rehearse for was Nick Cage's fault. A lot of his just obviously he's bored as shit and just going through the lines. That was definitely his fault. So I'm gonna give Nick Cage a big thumbs down on this one. He definitely contributed to the shittiness of this movie.
Yeah, that's what I asked myself. Did he make the movie better? No. Could it have been better if it wasn't him? Yes.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, I think. Did he make the movie worse? Yeah, kind of seems that way. So,
okay.
Here it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. These are the cagiest moments of the film.
You're actually really fucking hot,
Well, you're a pretty cute kid yourself. You look like the sort of gent who might have a Big Johnny pistol in the trunk or on the front seat.
It's under the front seat.
All right, I'll take that pistol. So, Greco tells me you're a heavy guy.
I'm not referring to your weight. I mean that apparently you are a gentleman of some power and influence.
Well, I try my best. It is a shitty economy out there, so we all gotta work overtime all the time.
I heard that.
Right.
It was you
Me?
on the TV, the shootout.
Yes, but it wasn't like they say.
Well, how was it?
You ever been inside, Reverend? In the joint?
Yes, sir.
Well, then you know. A guy who has a past, a guy who's made mistakes. They say they forgive you, but they never do. They're always looking at you, trying to catch you at something. All we want, heck, all anybody wants is justice. I was explaining to the officer, and she panicked. She thought I was resisting. Yeah, that's right, resisting, and my friend was just trying to save me.
All right, that's it for this episode of One Cage at a Time. As always, be sure to drop us an email at onecagepodcast@gmail.com to let us know if we missed anything, or hit us up with suggestions to improve the show, comments, compliments, or simply to gush about the legend that is Nicolas Cage. Next up, we'll be breaking down the 2018 modern horror classic, Mandy. It tells the story of a happy couple quietly living out their lives before their quiet life is destroyed by a sadistic cult, forcing Nick Cage to go on a bloody rampage of revenge. The film currently holds a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, making it easily the highest rated film that we've done so far. Make sure to check it out wherever fine films are sold or on your streaming service of choice. Until then, we'll say goodbye the way we do each and every episode with our Nicolas Cage quote of the film.
I'll get us a real good gig. I'll get us such a good gig.
take her tits off.
Thanks for listening to One Cage at a Time. Visit us online at onecageatatime.com or follow us on the social media platform of your choice for more Nicolas Cage goodness. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you really like the show, become a member of our Patreon where you can download unedited and ad-free episodes as well as listen to our follow-up show, Back Into the Cage, where we re-examine each movie to discuss what we missed the first time around, answer listener questions, and wax poetic about the man, the myth, the legend that is Nicolas Cage.
I don't follow.
He has like a Mexican mom and an Irish dad, and he's totally Latin-looking dude, so that was British.